Welcome to Reddit Podcast Stories, where an unhinged Karen is demanding to adopt OP's baby. Unhinged Karen demands to adopt my baby because I'm too poor to raise it properly. Plus updates. I, 26 female, and my husband, 27 male, have been together for 4 years and married for 1. We aren't rich by any means, but we aren't poor either. We rent a modest 2-bedroom apartment. We drive older cars that are paid off, and we budget pretty carefully. But we're comfortable, and we pay all of our bills on time. We found out a few weeks ago that I'm pregnant with our first baby. It was definitely unexpected and not in our plans, but either way, we were still excited. My husband has a sister. Let's call her Sarah. She's 31, female. Sarah and her husband are very well off. Her husband works in corporate tech, and Sarah works in finance. So their combined income is huge compared to ours. They live in a massive 5-bedroom house in a gated neighborhood. The catch is that they've been trying to get pregnant for about 2 years now with no luck. I knew it was a sensitive topic for her, so when we decided to break the news to the family, my husband and I agreed to keep the announcement simple and low-key. We hosted a small dinner at our place for my husband's parents, Sarah, and her husband. When we announced the pregnancy, my parents-in-law were super excited and hugging us. Sarah, however, just froze up. She didn't say congratulations or anything. She just got up from the table, went into our bathroom, and stayed there for 20 minutes. When she came back out, her eyes were obviously red, but she had this really weird calm look on her face. We carried on with the dinner, and toward the end of the night, while my husband was in the kitchen helping his dad clean up, Sarah asked if she could talk to me in our soon-to-be nursery room, which we're currently using as a home office. She closed the door and literally started the conversation by saying she had a proposition that would solve all of our problems. I had no idea what she was talking about. Then she looked me dead in the eye and said that since I'm young and healthy, but my husband and I aren't in a good financial spot, it makes the most sense for me to carry this baby for her and her husband. She said they would pay for all of my medical bills, give us a lump sum of money for our trouble, and legally adopt the baby as soon as it's born. I literally just stood there with my mouth wide open. I thought she was making a joke, so I gave an awkward laugh. But she didn't laugh at all. She said, "I'm serious. You guys live in a rented apartment, and your cars are almost 10 years old. My husband makes more than both of you combined 4 times over. It's not fair to bring a child into a struggling household when we have a huge house, top-tier school districts, and endless resources ready to go." I told her absolutely not, that this is our baby and we are completely fine financially. She got super defensive and said I was being selfish by denying a child a wealthy life just because of my ego. My husband walked in right then because he heard raised voices. When I told him what Sarah had just said, he went off on her and told her to get out of our apartment immediately. Her husband looked super embarrassed and he dragged her out. But on the way out, my mother-in-law asked what happened. When my husband explained it all, mother-in-law didn't shut Sarah down like I expected. Instead, mother-in-law pulled us aside and said, "Look, Sarah is grieving and desperate, but she does have a point about the financial difference. You two don't have to decide right now, but just keep it open as an option to consider. It could really help everyone out." We kicked everyone out after that. I'm just sitting here in disbelief. My husband is furious at his mom and sister, but now his dad called him saying we shouldn't burn bridges and that we should at least hear Sarah out properly before making a final decision. Am I crazy, or is this whole family insane? Update 2 weeks later. So it's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and things have gotten weirder and much worse. My husband and I made it clear to the family group chat that this topic was closed. We said we are keeping our baby, we are financially stable, and if anyone brought up adoption again, we would go low contact. Everyone stayed quiet for a few days, so we thought maybe they had snapped back into reality. But we were wrong. Last Tuesday, I got a package delivered to our apartment. It was a huge box from a high-end baby boutique. Inside was a designer baby monitor, custom organic swaddles, and a letter from a legal firm specializing in private family adoptions, along with a handwritten note from Sarah. The note said,
I know you're overwhelmed right now, but I wanted to show you the quality of life that we can provide. Please read over the attached legal draft so we can make this smooth for everyone."
I was so angry that I was shaking. My husband called Sarah immediately on speaker. When he confronted her, she didn't even apologize. She basically said that since we rent, our apartment isn't a stable environment for a baby and that we're being irresponsible. She literally told my husband,
"You're living paycheck to paycheck in a place you don't even own. You can't even afford a proper nursery. Why are you letting your pride ruin this child's future?"
My husband told her she was sick and he hung up. But then his mom called 10 minutes later. Mother-in-law didn't explicitly command us to do it, but she tried to play mediator again in the worst way possible. She said,
"Sarah bought a full nursery set yesterday and she put it in her spare room. She's really emotionally invested in this. I'm not saying you have to give her your baby, but you have to understand where she's coming from. Can't you at least meet her for coffee and talk through options? Maybe a co-parenting arrangement where she funds the kid's private school and they live with her for half the week."
Co-parenting my own child with my sister-in-law? Are you serious? My husband lost his temper and he told his mom that if she keeps enabling Sarah's delusion, she won't be allowed in the delivery room or around the baby at all. Mother-in-law started crying, saying we were breaking the family apart over a generous misunderstanding. Now Sarah has started posting subtle quotes on Facebook about unselfish love and how some people choose poverty over their children's potential. Her friends are commenting saying how brave she is. It's so creepy how far deep into this delusion she actually is. We blocked her on all social media, but I'm actually getting nervous about how far she's going to push this. Update. It's been another month, and honestly, I wish I had better news, but the entitlement reached a whole new peak yesterday. I am now 4 months along and starting to show a little bit. My husband and I went low contact with his parents and completely blocked Sarah. We thought that would give us some peace, but yesterday afternoon, while my husband was at work, someone knocked on my door. I checked through the peephole and it was Sarah. She was holding a clipboard and a large folder. I didn't even open the door. I spoke through the door and told her she needed to leave or I'd call the police. She spoke through the door in this super calm, almost clinical voice. She said,
"OP, open up. I brought a financial counselor and a notary's contact info. We need to do a budget audit of your household so we can present it to the family. If you can prove you have a trust fund set up for college, we'll back off. Otherwise, you need to be reasonable."
A budget audit? In what world does my sister-in-law get to audit my household finances to determine if I'm qualified to keep my own child? I was so disgusted and terrified by her logic that I called my husband, who called the police right away. While I was waiting for the police to arrive, Sarah stayed outside my door for 10 minutes, talking loudly so all the neighbors could hear. She was saying things like,
"We just want what's best for the baby. You're refusing to let us provide a safe financial foundation."
The police arrived and escorted her off the property. They gave her a formal warning for trespassing since our apartment manager had already told her she wasn't allowed on the premises after the previous package incident. Last night, my father-in-law texted my husband. He didn't defend Sarah's behavior at the door, but he said, "Your sister's having a nervous breakdown because of her fertility struggles. Calling the cops on her was way too extreme. You're making her look like a criminal when she just wants to help give your child a better life. You guys need to sit down as a family and find a compromise instead of humiliating your sister." A compromise? What is the compromise here? Give her the baby on weekends? My husband told his dad that we are going completely no contact with the entire family until further notice. We're currently looking into moving to a new apartment complex when our lease is up in 3 months, and we're not giving anyone in his family our new address. My husband is completely on my side and furious at how insane his family is acting, but it's just so stressful trying to enjoy a pregnancy when your in-laws treat your unborn child like a luxury item that they can negotiate for. Your sister-in-law is completely unhinged at this point, but honestly, it sounds like she's in the middle of a massive mental breakdown and she needs serious psychiatric help. That being said, Her mental health isn't your responsibility to manage, especially when she's actively harassing you while you're pregnant. A restraining order sounds like it's long overdue. Get every text message, the police report from the trespassing incident, and the security footage together and go straight to court. Protect yourself and your baby first. Let her husband and parents handle getting her the medical help that she clearly needs. Update. It's been 2 months since my last post, and honestly, so much insane stuff has happened that it feels like I'm living in a soap opera. I'm 6 months pregnant now, starting to really show, and my husband and I actually ended up breaking our lease early and moving to a new apartment in a completely different neighborhood. We didn't give his family our new address, changed our door lock combinations, and got a Ring camera installed on day 1. We thought hiding our address would give us peace, but Sarah's obsession reached a whole new level of psycho. About 3 weeks ago, I had a standard checkup with my OBGYN. My husband was at work, so I went alone. When I walked out into the lobby after my appointment, Sarah was sitting right there in the waiting room. My heart completely dropped. I had no idea how she figured out who my doctor was, but she must have called around to local clinics pretending to be me or looking for my records. Before I could even react, she stood up, smiled at me like nothing was wrong, and handed me a thick leather-bound binder. She literally said, "I made a custody and financial trust proposal for us to review together. I booked an appointment with a family law mediator down the street for 2 p.m. on Tuesday." I backed away from her and told her to stay away from me. I pulled out my phone to call the police right there in the lobby, but she didn't even flinch. She leaned in and whispered, "You're being so dramatic. We found out you moved. My husband hired a private investigator. You can't hide a child from family just because you're insecure about your bank account." A private investigator. Her husband literally paid someone to track down where we moved. The front desk staff noticed I was visibly shaking and crying, and security ended up coming over and kicking Sarah out of the building. I called my husband hysterically, and he rushed over from work. We went straight from the clinic to the courthouse and filed for an emergency temporary restraining order against Sarah, using the police report from the trespassing incident, the Ring camera footage from our old place, and the OBGYN incident report. When the sheriff served Sarah with the restraining order papers 2 days later, the entire family exploded. My father-in-law called my husband screaming, saying we were destroying the family and making Sarah look like a monster. But here's where the drama gets really crazy. It turns out, Sarah's husband had no idea she hired a private investigator or that she was showing up at my doctor's office. Sarah had stolen his credit card to pay the investigator, and she had been hiding her spiraling behavior from him by telling him that we were slowly warming up to the idea. When her husband found out about the restraining order and the private investigator, he finally realized how completely unhinged she had become. He filed for divorce that same week and moved out of their house. He actually texted my husband a huge apology, saying he was disgusted by her actions and that he was completely washing his hands of her and her family's enabling. Now that her husband left her, Sarah has gone totally off the deep end. My mother-in-law called my husband last night blabbering, blaming me for Sarah's divorce. Mother-in-law said that because I refused to share the blessing of a child, I ruined Sarah's marriage, and that the least I could do now to fix the family is let Sarah be the baby's godmother and have unsupervised weekend visits once the baby is born. My husband finally snapped completely. He told his mom that she's just as sick as Sarah is, and that if either of them ever tries to contact us, show up at our new place, or come anywhere near the hospital when I give birth, he will have them both arrested. He blocked his mom, his dad, and Sarah on everything, and we're officially full no contact with his entire biological family. It's been a crazy, stressful couple of weeks, but we finally feel like we can breathe a little bit now that legal protection is in place and the truth about Sarah came out to her own husband. We're just focusing on getting the nursery ready in our new place and keeping stress levels low for the rest of this pregnancy. Stay away from all of these people. Some people are just built like this. They hit a wall in life, lose their grip on reality, and decide that it's everyone else's fault. The fact that her own husband packed his bags and filed for divorce the second he saw the full picture says everything that you ever need to know. You can't reason with that level of delusion, and you definitely can't fix it. Cutting all ties completely, locking down your legal protections, and treating them like total strangers is the only way you're ever going to have peace. Enjoy the rest of your pregnancy without all of that toxic noise. And this, my friends, is the story of how an entire family tried to initiate a corporate takeover of an unborn child. A budget audit at her front door? Who does she think she is? The IRS of parenting? I'm surprised she didn't show up with a PowerPoint presentation and a 401k match offer for the baby. Hi, we noticed your apartment has 2 bedrooms instead of 3, so we're repossessing your infant. Like, lady, this isn't a lease swap on a Honda Civic. It's a human being. And the fact that she hired a private investigator? Absolute supervillain behavior. Imagine spending actual money on a detective just to track down someone's prenatal appointments. And the mother-in-law? Can't you just co-parent with her? Ma'am, this is a baby, not a shared Netflix password. By the way, for every thumbs up this video gets, 1 baby doesn't get repossessed. Am I the jerk for wanting our 25-year-old to move out? My wife is very sick. After 2 years of being cancer-free, her cancer has returned and it's now considered stage 4. It absolutely sucks. We have 4 children, all living in a 1,500 square foot home. 2 are under 10 with special needs and require a lot of extra care. Our 20-year-old is in his 4th year of university and our oldest is 25, turning 26 very soon. He graduated from university in 2024. Our oldest worked part-time while he was in school from 2019 through 2024. Then in December of 2024, I helped him get a full-time entry-level position at the company where I work. It pays about 20% above minimum wage. During his 5 years at university, we covered every expense, including tuition, books, food, utilities, and living at home the entire time, except for one brief attempt at living in residence, which I'll come back to. About 9 months ago, I finally convinced my wife that he should at least pay a token amount of rent. It's only about 25% of market rate, and we're secretly putting every penny aside to give back to him when he eventually moves out. We still pay for all of his food, toiletries, utilities, and almost everything else. The only bill he covers himself is his cell phone for the past few years. During my wife's first round of cancer treatment, he gradually moved his girlfriend into the house. It started with, sure, she can come over, then slowly turned into her staying 4 to 5 nights a week. It's been like that for roughly 2.5 years now. So while I'm caring for my wife, looking after 2 younger children, working full-time, paying the bills, and trying to keep the household running, I'm also cleaning up after 3 other adults who contribute very little around the house. I'm exhausted. When my wife was first declared cancer-free again, I started talking to her about helping our oldest transition into living independently. I love my son. He's intelligent, kind, generous when someone specifically asks for help, and he's never been a troublemaker. This isn't about not loving him. The problem is that he's never really had to stand on his own 2 feet. The only regular chore he and his girlfriend are expected to do is wash their own dishes once a week. During his first year of university, he tried living in residence. Unfortunately, he struggled with being away from home, felt isolated, and became so overwhelmed that after only 2 months, we had to pull him out. We lost over $10,000 on the residence fees, and he moved back into our basement. Thankfully, we only live about 10 minutes from campus, so he was still able to finish school from home. For the last 2 years, I've been telling my wife that he needs another chance to become independent. I want him to learn how to budget, cook, clean, manage a home, build routines, invite friends over to his own place, and become comfortable living outside his parents' house. We've paid for years of therapy to help him with his anxiety, and I truly believe the next step in his growth is learning to manage life on his own. He's been with the same girlfriend for about 3 years now. Back in May, he told me they planned to move out in September. Then it became January, then maybe May of 2026. Every time the date changed, I told him I'd help however I could. I'd help him find an apartment, rent the moving truck, pack boxes, set up the internet, whatever they needed. But they're still here. My wife and I had finally agreed that we would give him a firm move-out date. 3 days later, we were sitting in the hospital learning that her cancer had returned. Now, my wife feels that everything has changed. She says asking him to move out now would create too much stress for her and that I'm putting unnecessary pressure on her during the worst time of her life. I completely understand why she feels that way. At the same time, I'm drowning. Money is not the issue here. We're fortunate enough that finances aren't too big of a concern, at least not yet. What I desperately need is one less responsibility. Part of me still believes it's time for our oldest son to become independent. Another part of me wonders if I'm being selfish because of everything our family is facing. Am I the jerk for still wanting him to move out? Not the jerk, but I think you're focusing on the wrong solution. Right now, you don't really need one fewer person in the house. You need 2, or 3 if counting the girlfriend, more adults actually acting like adults. Your 2 sons and the girlfriend should be taking work off of your plate, not adding to it. Cooking meals, grocery shopping, cleaning bathrooms, doing laundry, helping with the younger kids, running errands. That's what I'd expect from healthy, working adults living rent-free while their mom is fighting cancer. Once your wife is through this chapter, then revisit the move-out timeline. I completely understand why your wife wants him close right now. If I were facing a stage 4 diagnosis, I'd probably want all of my children nearby too. That said, staying home doesn't mean living like a teenager. He's 25. His girlfriend is there most of the time. Between the 2 of them, they should be carrying a huge portion of the household responsibilities. You shouldn't be cleaning up after 2 extra adults while also working full-time and caring for your wife. There's a compromise here, and I think that's it. Everyone sucks here. I think both parents unintentionally created this situation. Your son only has one assigned chore, washing his own dishes once a week. You paid for school, covered nearly every expense, found him a job, and even saved his rent payments for him. That's incredibly generous, but somewhere along the way, nobody taught him what running a household actually looks like. I wouldn't make him move out while his mom is going through cancer treatment if that's what she wants. I would be sitting both him and his girlfriend down tonight with a list of responsibilities. If they're old enough to live together, they're old enough to help keep the household running. So son's move-out date has changed more often than my New Year's resolutions. September, January, May. Eventually it'll be, we're thinking sometime before retirement. Dad even offered to rent the moving truck. At that point, all he had left to offer was carrying him into the new apartment. But Dad's biggest mistake was only giving his 25-year-old one chore, once a week. My houseplants have a busier schedule than that. No wonder the girlfriend got comfortable. She accidentally signed up for the all-inclusive package. Yeah, no wonder nobody's in a hurry to sign a lease. I told my coworker I would not cook his steak at work. And no, I don't work at a restaurant. Last year, I, 40 female, switched careers. I went from being a registrar for my local school district to becoming an instructional health aide at a special needs facility. We have 2 main rooms, 2 bathrooms, a laundry room, and a small kitchen and dining area. The people we care for, I'll call them our friends, have severe mental and/or physical disabilities, so it takes a full team to keep everything running smoothly. The work is busy and sometimes exhausting and incredibly rewarding. I genuinely love my friends and the amazing staff that I get to work with. That is, until we got a new contract aide in April. I'll call him Mr. JN. At first, Mr. JN, 75, male, seemed perfectly fine. He was the only man on a team of women, so we welcomed him while also making our workplace boundaries very clear. Since I was one of the older aides, he naturally started coming to me for guidance. Work-wise, he needed a lot of it. He couldn't lift people, even though that's part of the job. He regularly got lost taking our friends between specialists and activities, and every new task seemed to confuse him. During his first week, he kept forgetting to bring lunch, so I'd either split mine with him or buy him a sandwich. I like helping people, and moving from Chicago to Arizona was a big adjustment for him, so I tried to make things easier. Then he got a little too comfortable. He started joking and flirting with the staff. Most of it was harmless enough, and we all joked around with each other from time to time. Whenever he crossed a line, though, we'd shut it down immediately. With me, he'd do things like pat his lap and motion for me to sit there, or jokingly ask for some of my lipstick, which was his way of asking for a kiss. My response was always the same. I'd hand him the actual tube of lipstick and walk off to my next task while he sat there pouting. The rest of the team knew about these little incidents, and we made sure everyone was comfortable enough around him. Then came the air fryer. Every Friday, we do a cooking activity with our friends, and our little kitchen only has an old toaster oven. One day, Mr. J.N. proudly announced that he'd bring in his own oven for everyone to use. We were thrilled. It sounded like a wonderful idea. The first clue that something was off came when he asked me to help him carry it inside. I walked out to his car and found a brand new air fryer oven still sealed in the box. I helped bring it inside, unpack it, and get it set up. Our lead insisted that Mr. J.N. didn't need to go out and buy a new oven, but hey, now we can bake cakes. So whatever, right? Anything for our friends. The very next day, he brought 2 packages of stuffed mushrooms. He stared at the oven for about a minute before asking me to cook 1 package for his breakfast. I actually had a little free time, so I figured I'd turn it into a teaching opportunity with our friends while we were already using the kitchen. Then later he handed me the second package and told me to cook that one for his lunch too. The difference was I didn't have free time. I wasn't on break. He was. I told him very clearly that this would be the last time I touched that oven unless we were cooking with or for our friends. I wasn't there to make his meals, and I wasn't going to become his personal cook. He grumbled something that sounded like agreement, and I figured we had settled it. A couple of weeks went by, and I mostly forgot about the mushroom incident. Then he started talking about bringing steaks or pork chops for lunch. Right away, I told him I wouldn't be cooking his food, not even heating up meat for him. In hindsight, I was naive enough to assume he meant bringing leftovers from home. Then came the Friday before Mother's Day. Mr. J.N. walked in carrying a 1-inch thick, 10-ounce ribeye, fully raw, along with butter and seasonings. Suddenly, I found myself following a 75-year-old man around our tiny kitchen with a bottle of Lysol while he handled raw meat in a workspace attached to a facility full of our medically fragile friends. My job is already busy and stressful. I could handle shutting down awkward comments. I could handle redirecting him when he gets confused. What I was not prepared for was a grown man bringing a raw steak to work, expecting me to cook it like I was his personal chef. He eventually cooked it himself, during work hours no less, while complaining about how unhelpful I was and how he had expected a lot more workplace camaraderie from us ladies, blah blah blah. Needless to say, Mr. J.N. doesn't work here anymore. He took the air fryer with him too. I was off on his last day, and apparently nobody else volunteered to carry it back out to his car. I don't think I'll be over his audacity for a while. Thanks for reading my vent. This brought back memories. I used to work in a similar care setting, and once someone decides you're the helpful one, it can snowball so fast if you don't shut it down. First, it's borrowing something. Then it's making them lunch. Then suddenly, you're expected to solve every little problem they have. The raw steak absolutely sent me through. Of all the places to bring uncooked meat, he picked a facility full of medically fragile people and somehow expected you to play personal chef during your shift. That's next level entitlement. I thought helping your coworkers out meant like covering someone's shift from time to time, not seasoning their steak. Next thing you know, he'll be asking her for today's chef's recommendation. I don't know what company handbook he read, but I've never seen cook your coworker's ribeye under team building. My Karen neighbor tells me that I'm not allowed to barbecue. I'm in my 30s and I recently bought my first house. I'm in the middle terrace in a quiet family area. I've always been interested in smoking and barbecuing, and now that I have my own place, I bought an American-style barbecue smoker. I've been watching shows and YouTube videos about it for years, and I've been really enjoying my new hobby. Over the last 4 months, I've used my barbecue for a long smoke, around 7 hours, 4 times. The garden is quite small, about 5 by 9 meters, and I usually have the barbecue quite close to the house. My plan for this weekend was to smoke a brisket. I went out to start the barbecue at 8 a.m. for a 10-hour smoke when my neighbor asked from over the fence how long I was planning on barbecuing for. They mentioned that they wanted to have their windows open, that they had just put some laundry out, and also that our other neighbors had complained about the smell. This is the first time I'm hearing of this. I asked if I could start later, and we agreed on 2 p.m. Around 2:15 p.m., I knocked on my neighbor's door to let them know I was going to start cooking. that I'd reduce the cook time to 4 hours and that I'd move the barbecue to the back of the garden. Their response was to tell me that they had looked up the city council website that I was not allowed to barbecue for more than 4 hours. I just said okay, and I've now started my cook. I haven't been able to find anything to back up their claim that there's a council-enforced 4-hour limit per barbecue. I feel like I've done my due diligence by letting them know that I was starting and checking their laundry had been taken in. Am I the jerk for using my new barbecue? Don't apologize for cooking, especially barbecue. They can either join in and enjoy or buzz off. People that get angry over the smell of a neighbor's barbecue are control freaks that want everything their way. Don't let others' mental problems stop you from enjoying ribs. The Americans in here don't understand that most people in the UK hang their washing outside to dry rather than using a dryer. We also have windows open as we don't have air conditioning. If someone is smoking meats all day, that stops them from washing their clothes all day, which just isn't reasonable. If they were just having a barbecue in the evening, I'd be on their side. There may not be a law against it, but I'm sure there's not a law about playing Hanson on repeat all day either. It's about having respect for the people you live with, especially in a terraced housing where you are very close to your neighbors. You're the jerk. Smoking meats with neighbors that nearby? Really? Neighbor from heck. The smoke gets into everything and it lingers. I agree. You're not talking about grilling like it seems some here think. You're talking about running a smoker for 4 to 10 hours. This is completely inconsiderate. You're the jerk. There's nothing worse than hanging your washing out only for it to smell like your neighbor's smoke, let alone 8 hours of it. Smoke your meat when others aren't drying their washing. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or their neighbors? Please let us know. Can we get some likes on this video, please, for the correct pronunciation of barbecue? Am I the jerk for telling my wife she's free to find a hotel room if she doesn't want my daughter here? My daughter Anna is 16 years old. She was an accident when I was 24. Anna's mother and I were never together as a couple. It was just a one-time thing, but we have maintained a friendly and healthy co-parenting since she was born, and we became good friends. My daughter has been living on another continent for a few years with her mother and stepfather, but she wants to come back because she doesn't feel comfortable there and she misses her family and friends. Anna doesn't know their language well, and it's still hard for her to learn it fully, so she feels really lonely there since it's different than speaking your native language, and making friends by speaking in a foreign language is hard. I spoke with my daughter's mother and we thought it was a good idea to let Anna live with me. Her room is now my home office, but I can easily put together a room for her again. We didn't confirm anything. I talked to my wife about it first, and I was sure that she was going to be okay with it because we literally talked about that possibility before. The problem is that my wife doesn't want that to happen. My wife and Anna have never been close because they only met in person for our wedding when I was able to pay a ticket for my daughter to come to it. That was the last time I saw my daughter in person too. Plane tickets are expensive. But they do tend to talk a little bit when I make video calls with Anna every day, but not too much. Anna also talks to her brother, and he likes her a lot, even if they just see each other through video calls. My wife says Anna is not going to feel comfortable in a house with strangers, and I told her that we are literally her family, and she said no. She and our toddler are not Anna's family because they barely know her in person. It honestly hurts me that she thinks that way, but I understand her point of view, although our toddler is Anna's brother, and it really annoyed me that she said that because our little one really loves his sister, even if they just see each other online. I had an argument with my wife about it, and I ended up telling her that my daughter will always come first of all because it's true. For me, my kids will always come before any other person, and she knew very well about my daughter when we got married. My wife got angry and said that bringing Anna home would change how we handle ourselves and that she doesn't want to be a stepmother. She said that Anna lived with her mother in another continent, so it's not the same as having her here every day. I told her that no one is asking her to be a stepmother because I'll be the one who takes care of her as always. My daughter used to stay many days and even months with me when I was the one who took care of her. I'm not going to give my wife all the work because I was a single father for a long time and I know how to take care of my daughter. I work, I clean, I cook. I take full care of our son when she works and wants to go out and do something, just like she does for me. We both support each other in raising our son. I don't know why many people are so shocked about the fact that I take responsibility of my own kid, but that if she doesn't respect my daughter's presence in the house and hates it that much, then she has all the freedom to go get a hotel room. I was a big idiot because those words obviously ended up really bad and we had a worse argument. My daughter has every right to live in my house if she wants to, but my wife doesn't want that. I really love my wife, but my biggest focus is to give the best to my kids, and I would love to have my princess here after years. My wife hasn't been talking to me at all, and she's very angry, but she does continue with the same stance that she doesn't want Anna here at all. And I know I'll get angry and we'll end up arguing again because I'm not going to leave my daughter alone either. Edit. My wife always knew that Anna lived with me several days a week when she was still in the country because I talked to her about the possibility of Anna's family returning to the country if things went wrong. That would have meant that Anna would come back to live with me for many days or even months like she always did. My daughter used to come to my house every day too. My wife agreed with that years ago when we talked about that, but now admits that she thought my daughter was going to stay out of the country with her mother because their business is going very well. If she doesn't change her mind, do you see your marriage lasting? OP. To be honest, no, not at all. Even if I love my wife, my daughter no longer feels welcome in her school or comfortable. I don't want her to feel that way here too. What are you going to do about your son? OP. My son would never be homeless. Being okay with my wife would be the ideal plan, but if she continues to reject my daughter's presence and we break up, I'm going to make sure I pay her and our son a good place to stay. And go for 50-50 custody like I had with Anna, or make some kind of cohabitation agreement. I'm going to do the same thing with my son that I did with my daughter, which was go see her every day and take care of her. I wouldn't fight with my wife or stress out our son with grown-up stuff. Like I said, my biggest focus is that my kids are all well and don't suffer from the decisions of adults. But again, the ideal would be for everything to end well and for everyone to be happy. Not picking sides here, but if your wife leaves, so does your son. Everyone is screaming to put your kid first. You may have your daughter full-time and your son 50-50. Doubt they would take the toddler away from her since you say she's a wonderful mother. I think the rock in the hard place is a lot harder than you think. OP. Yes, I've been thinking about that too. Co-parenting with Anna's mother has always been really easy because we've always been good friends and there was never a fight. But I don't want to think that if I divorce my wife or we break up because of this, I'll have a harder time seeing my son or how the co-parenting would be with her. Unless there's something you aren't disclosing about Anna, your wife is of questionable character for not allowing your daughter to live with the family. She's part of the family whether your wife wants her to be or not. OP. I can swear there's nothing I'm hiding about her. She's good and has never had any problems with anyone. Even at the wedding, Anna and my wife got along well. She was a kid raised well by me as well as by her mother and stepfather. Update. First of all, I want to clarify that I'm from a third world country. It's really expensive to get a plane ticket, and if I travel, I must do it with my wife and our son too, so it's too much money that we can't pay. I let my daughter's mother take her to another country because, like every father, I want her to have better life opportunities. I don't think that makes me a bad father, but I guess the minds that have always lived in privilege don't understand. The last time I could afford some tickets was for my daughter to come to the wedding. Not all of us have the privilege of paying for a plane flight. I've been thinking a lot, and in fact, I'm the jerk because of the way that I treated my wife. Even if most of the comments agreed with me, I don't think it was right to say that to the woman I love, even though I was angry. I apologized to her for what I said and the way I said it, but I told her that I don't like it when she ignores me and gives me the cold shoulder when I try to talk to her about issues, and the fact that she denied the familiarity between our son and our daughter was just cruel. She apologized for it and said things she regrets. I made it clear to her that Anna is coming here because no one can forbid any of my kids to live with me. Not only morally, but legally, I'm totally obligated to give my daughter and son a house. She tried to argue, but I asked her how she would feel if we divorced and my new girlfriend refuses to let our son live with me just because she didn't sign up for it. My wife said no, that obviously she knows how much I care about our kids, that she knew she wanted to have a kid with me because she saw how, even though my daughter was so far away, I still made video calls to her every day, and we always help each other with things around the house. Then I asked her why she rejects the idea of my daughter being here, and she admitted to being jealous of my daughter. It's something that I've noticed in the past. For example, for one of my daughter's birthdays, I sent money to her mother to buy her a dress that was quite expensive, and my wife just said, "I guess you will buy our son something just as expensive." It was my mistake to let those comments pass and think it was just a joke. She said that she doesn't want my daughter to come and take time away from our son. That bothered me, and I told her that if we had 2 kids, my time would also be divided, and that as a father, I can give the same attention to both. Changing our routine doesn't have to be a negative thing, and she knows that Anna is not a problem teenager. We talked a lot, and I explained to her that I just want to make everything work for both of us. I apologized if I made her feel bad with the way I treated her, and I told her that I want to really hear what things are bothering her so we can understand each other better. We agreed to have better dialogue and communication about these kinds of things. My wife admitted that her jealousy is wrong and she feels embarrassed about it, but it's how she feels and she feels awful for feeling that way. I told her that feeling isn't right. Being jealous of my daughter isn't right, and I told her that it would be okay to start going to the psychologist if we want to fix this, because I'm not going to leave my daughter living in a place where she doesn't feel loved. My wife accepted after talking about it a lot these past days, and she wants to work on herself about that. I still haven't confirmed anything to Anna's mother about the date on which our daughter can come live here, but we're going to work it all out. I suppose a lot of people are going to call me an idiot for not divorcing my wife because that was what most of the comments told me to do. But it's not all that simple as, yeah, we argued, so let's get divorced and have 50-50 custody. And I personally think we're going to be a lot better off now that we're talking to each other about this. I'm not going to force them to be best friends. I just want them both to flow on their own. I'm also not going to use my daughter as a free babysitter, as many of the commenters thought I would. And both she and her brother can live in this house as long as they want to. Am I the jerk for telling my friend that she's making her fiancé miserable? I, 21 female, recently got into a pretty heated argument with my friend, 22 female, regarding her engagement to her fiancé, who's 30. For some background info, me and my friend, Carrie, have been on and off friends since middle school, but over the last 3 years, we've become really close, and I would consider her a best friend. I love her, but she's definitely one to be dramatic and overreactive. I've always thought that, but it's been overwhelmingly hard to handle for the past year. About a year into her relationship with her fiancé, Sean, she started to obsess over the idea of getting engaged. She would constantly ask friends and family if Sean had mentioned wanting to propose, would go through his bags during every trip they took to see if he had a ring hidden somewhere, and would sob to Sean and anyone who would listen after any major holiday or event, wondering why he didn't propose, because it was the perfect opportunity. During a night out with Sean, Carrie, and one of his friends, Carrie texted me begging for me to talk to Sean privately about when he was going to propose. Knowing she wouldn't drop it, I texted Sean and said at some point that night I would need to talk to him. Eventually, I got him alone and explained that he didn't need to tell me anything, but that Carrie wanted me to ask about thoughts on engagement. He told me that he's gotten to the point where he is going to propose to make her happy and that it would be about 2 months from when our conversation took place. Now they're engaged, but the issues have not gone away. Now Carrie is obsessed with wedding planning, and Sean has shared with me that he feels overwhelmed by her, even more so now. Sean isn't allowed to go out for drinks once a week after work or play video games like he usually does because of the wedding. Yesterday, I was over at their shared place because Sean was golfing and Carrie didn't want to be alone. At one point, she looked at his location, then pulled up a map of the golf course online and asked me to help her figure out which hole he was on. I told her it looked like he was on hole 8, which upset her because he had already been golfing for a while and she assumed he would be close to done. She proceeded to call him 32 times in a row until he answered, and then sobbed when he picked up and told him he needed to come home now because he had been out for too long. After their argument over the phone, I couldn't stop myself from the comment I made, which was, "Don't you think you're making Sean a little miserable?" This obviously didn't go over well. She sobbed and yelled at me, saying I just didn't understand how much she loves him. I left, and we haven't talked in a couple of days. I regret what I said, but I don't necessarily think I'm wrong. My overall concern is that I have definitely become too involved in their relationship. I have definitely become the middleman. So, am I the jerk for telling my friend that she's making her fiancé miserable? Your friend is engaging in controlling and emotionally manipulative behavior in an attempt to force her fiancé into a predetermined set of actions. She doesn't love him. At most, she loves some idealized version of him. Not the jerk. You have every right to say something. This kind of thing is the business of anyone who recognizes it. Perhaps Carrie might benefit from counseling, perhaps not. But your primary obligation is to help Sean, the one being victimized. My wife left me after she got in shape, and now she wants to get back together. Plus final update. I, 32 male, was married to my wife, 33 female, for 4 years, and we had a great marriage so far. I was madly in love with her. She fell into depression mainly due to her job in 2022. I tried to support her in every way and suggested her going to the gym or doing any kind of sports to de-stress. I had my own depression episode after we got married, and what saved me was going to the gym. She agreed to that and we started going together. I could not go as frequent as in the past because my workload got heavier after my promotion. However, I tried my best to be there with her. She used to be a bit bigger, which I always loved, and after seeing some changes with herself, she started to go regularly. It always helped her with depression and she got better. I was really happy to see that she got better and livelier. She looked more confident, got more aggressive, and so on. However, after a while, that confidence level started to affect our relationship for the worse. She started going to the parties and going outside to a point she completely stopped doing her share of the housework. That proceeded with me seeing her getting flirty with a guy at a meetup that we went to. I communicated my feelings to her and she dismissed these. After several of these, I had her sit down with me and I told her that she's riding high on her newly found confidence and emotions right now. I clearly stated that she should not make any decisions or actions according to that confidence right now. I know it well. It was one of my worst traits. I used to be extremely emotionally driven in the past. I suggested we go to a marriage counselor and all heck broke loose. She said horrible things to me, like how she realized she settled down with me after getting better and she could do much better than me. She said I'm insecure and other things. This woman used to be the sweetest person in the world, and I was shocked after hearing her say that to me. She filed for divorce the following month, and I didn't hear much from her other than some lawyer talk. Our court seeing is scheduled to be next month, and my lawyer told me there's a high chance it'll be concluded then. There's not much to share. Similar income, only shared asset is our joint account, similar savings and no kids. House is my mom's, so it's out of the division. I accepted my marriage is going to end like that. Last week, she called crying and told me she regrets everything. She apologized over and over again, but I felt disappointed. Not angry, not sad, just disappointed. She didn't text me or call me even once since the divorce started. I did not even know where she was since she just left the home. I told her there is no going back now. She's been messaging me nonstop. My family supports my decision and they tell me I shouldn't back down. My in-laws were shocked when they heard about the divorce. They're now telling me to rethink everything. I will 99.9% not back down, but as I said, I'm just looking for validation and maybe wanted to vent. Was there another reason she left you after she got healthy? OP. I did not even understand why she left me after getting in shape. I'm in shape too. It's not like I wasn't. It had been a while since going to the gym before we started going together, but I wasn't in bad shape at all. I could probably get back to my shredded shape with 1 year of workouts. How long were you separated? Did she tell you why she made the mistake? OP. About 5 months. She did not specify. I'm not sure what happened that made her call me crying. Update. We are officially divorced. There was not much to share, so it went smooth as butter according to my lawyer. I've never talked to her other than through lawyers as much as she wanted me to. She tried to talk to me one-on-one and get closure, but I just do not want that. It's not that I don't care why she left me, what she did during that time. I just don't want to know. I've been living without her for months now. At first it was difficult and I cried all night some days, but after a few months, I feel like I came to accept everything. What peace will it give to learn what and why when I already accept everything other than hurting me? For once, I want to prioritize my peace of mind in this whole process. My parents and friends are here to support me, and I'm glad that I have such a great support circle. As for what my plans are, renovate my office room in the house, get back to the gym, and live my best life. I've been wanting to renovate my office room for a while now, and that's what I'll start with. I started hitting the gym at the same time. I believe my body is good, but I have some extra fat to lose. Dieting proved itself difficult because I love tiramisu. For the dating part, I got on a few apps. I have decent numbers of matches, but I realized I don't feel like doing it right now. I'll focus on my own hobbies, well-being, and wants for now. Thank you for all the support and the help in the post. I'm really sorry you had to go through this awful experience. I agree with you that closure is just for her, as you shed all the tears and pain you needed to. All the best for you. Keep looking after yourself, and I'm proud of how you've handled yourself during this difficult time. OP. I think I gave myself my own closure, and the conclusion is having my best life and moving on. That's the best thing I can do. When the person who chooses to leave wants closure, just shut the door and keep it shut. They only want to make themselves feel better about their decision, no matter how bad they did you over. Karen calls the HOA on me because I'm too sick to mow my grass, so I built a new 8-foot fence. So the call about the long grass was kind of the last straw. The backstory is this. My grandpa passed 2 years ago and I moved into his house. He was pretty healthy, but he let the yard go down a bit. The grass was maintained, but the trees were overgrown. His pond and patio were dirty, etc. Our neighbor, years ago, sold their yard to a property builder. Our properties are in an L shape, so our neighbor was using our backyard as her virtual backyard. For the past 2 years, I've been trying my best to maintain the backyard while also working and dealing with my grandpa's stuff. Well, for the past few weeks, the backyard has fallen a bit, as stress from work has creeped in and I was sick for a few weeks. Before this, the neighbor was always nitpicking things, but I mostly just ignored them until they rang my door one day to complain about mess in the backyard, and I told them, I have a life outside of this house. If it bugs you that much, you're more than welcome to do the work yourself. Following that, the bylaws came by, and they were very understanding about my situation and gave me more than enough time to feel better and mow the lawn. Well, that whole thing really upset me, and I had wanted to get the typical white picket fence as there wasn't a fence, and we were passively looking for a dog. So I decided, forget it. I built the largest fence I could, and since her house was right on the property line, she now looks out the window, and instead of seeing my backyard, she just sees a big wooden fence. There's two types of neighbors. Ones that look and say, oh man, the neighbor is usually pretty good about mowing. I wonder if their mower broke or they're sick or something. I'll go check, and if they need to borrow my mower, or if they need me to mow for them this time, well, that's what neighbors are for. The other type goes, oh man, that looks like crap. I don't give a hoot if they're getting chemo treatment. I'm gonna call the city on them. Karen kissed my husband during our barbecue, and I don't know what to do about it. I, 28 female, have been with my husband, who's 27, for 6 years, married for 4, and we have 2 kids together who are 3 and 1. Everything in our relationship is perfect for us. He's the best husband and father to our kids that I could have ever asked for. I'm absolutely in love with him, and his actions and words have always shown me that he feels the same way. There's no better feeling than going to sleep in his arms every night. Last weekend, my husband and I had some friends over, and we were having a barbecue. We were all outside in the backyard, surrounding my husband, who was on the grill. As the food got closer to being ready to eat, we all started sitting at our backyard table. Once the food was ready to eat and at the table, my husband went inside to use the washroom and get another case of beer. I didn't realize that my best friend, 28 female, had followed him inside. When he was coming back out, my best friend hid behind the wall separating our kitchen and living room and surprised him by pulling him and kissing him. My husband immediately pushed her back and yelled, "What the heck?" She immediately started crying and ran out of the house and left. My husband came back into the backyard and asked to speak with me privately and immediately told me what had just happened. I was shocked, and I told him that it would be okay and that we would talk after everyone else left. I managed to put on appearances for the next couple of hours, but I was mentally distraught. After everyone left, my husband sat me down and told me exactly what happened, and he showed me the footage from our living room. It was exactly as my husband had described it. My best friend of 10 years, the person who I treated as my literal sister, kissed my husband. After the 3rd date with my husband, she was the one I told that I was going to marry him. She knows how much I love him and how strong our relationship is, and she still chose to try to come in the middle of it. For goodness sake, our 3-year-old calls her auntie. My best friend tried showing up the next day to just talk, and my husband had to hold me back from opening up a can of whoop tail on her, and he kicked her out and told her not to come back. It's been almost a week now, and I'm nowhere close to moving on. I don't blame my husband one bit. He's completely innocent in all of this. I've been laying down and just crying every day and night. I'm so angry and frustrated, and I don't know what to do. My husband has been amazing, and like always, he just gets it and understands how I'm feeling. He brought me flowers almost every day and cooked my favorite meals multiple times in the last few days. I love and appreciate him all the more for it. I just don't know how I'm going to move on and trust any of my friends again after this. You move on from that friendship and tell her not to contact you. There's no way she can explain it, and you just can't trust her anymore. Kick your friend to the curb. She's not your friend. Am I the jerk for not letting my neighbor use my driveway? The house across the street from me sold recently. The prior owners built it and lived in it for almost 50 years. They were lovely people and they're missed. I didn't meet the new neighbors until recently. They're living there only intermittently while renovations are being done. Anyway, we both live on a very busy street, double yellow line. And while street parking isn't illegal per se, it's definitely dangerous as it's busy, relatively narrow, high traffic road. The neighbor's house has a small driveway that can fit maybe 6 cars, and with the setup of the yard, there's really no lawn parking. 6 cars is a small driveway? I, on the other hand, have a very large circular driveway that can probably fit 15 to 20 cars if needed. But there's only one entrance and exit point to the street. So I was out getting my mail the other day and the neighbor was outside. She came over, introduced herself, and we chatted briefly. Then she said, "May I ask a favor of you?" I laughed and said, "Well, you can ask." Anyway, long story short, she said they were having a house party the weekend after 4th of July. They were expecting a large number of people and were hoping they could use my driveway for parking, as street parking is difficult. I said, "Sorry, no, it'll block me in. I'm fine with your guests parking on the grass in front of my fence. I have a small fence about 8 feet from the street, and there's a grass strip in front of it. The Smiths, prior house owners, would often use it if they were hosting a large group." She said, "Oh, I appreciate that, but that will only fit about 6 cars. We're going to need parking for another 10 to 12 beyond what fits in my driveway." I again said, "I'm sorry, I can't offer you the use of my driveway without it being a significant inconvenience to us. I'm going to have to say no." She then says, "Well, my guests can park along the side and back of your driveway, so you can still get in and out." I said, "Again, I'm going to have to say no. I'm not comfortable with your guests on my property, and the only light I have at night is my post light out front. It's very dark at night, and I wouldn't want anyone to trip or get hurt." She started to look frustrated and said, "Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't think they can all park on the street." I said, "Yes, I know parking can be frustrating here. There are a couple of municipal buildings nearby. It might be worth calling the town to see if you can use their parking lots since it's a weekend and maybe shuttle people or have them walk. Other than that, I'm not sure. It's one of the downsides of living on a busy street." I then excused myself and went back inside. Now every time I see her, she just kind of gives me a dirty look and says nothing. I don't really care about my neighbor not being neighborly, as we prefer to keep to ourselves anyway. But am I the jerk for not letting her use my driveway for parking? Edit. Since many of you have asked, no, she did not invite me to her party. Second edit. A lot of people are amazed by the large driveways. I live in a former farm town that's now a suburb in the US. Houses are on 1 to 3 acre lots, usually in the middle. So they all have really long driveways to access the house. This is a very, very common thing in my area, and it's nothing special. Not the jerk, but be prepared to call a tow truck though, should she decide to just not take no for an answer. OP. I talked to my husband about it, and we think it's best to just leave our own car at the entrance and exit point so that no one can get in. If someone still decides to park in front of the driveway anyway, a call to the police will sort that quickly. Small town, cops actually respond. Not the jerk. I understand that she's disappointed, but she does not have a right. You are very generous in allowing her guests parking on the outside of the fence, but you've already said that you don't have a lot of light outside, so what happens if one of them trips and gets hurt? That's your property insurance, not theirs. She can't guarantee what her guests will or will not do. Even if you said yes, she can't guarantee that they will park in the exact designated spots and not cause any problems. No is a complete sentence. The shuttle idea is the winner. OP. The other thing that made me hesitate is that I don't know these people, don't know their friends, and don't know if there will be any drinking or anything else at their party. I don't want to be involved with any of it in any way, especially if people are getting in their cars under some kind of influence. My daughter just contacted me after 17 years asking if I want to meet my granddaughter. I'm in my 60s now. I was married to my ex-wife and we had a daughter. Our marriage was going through its ups and downs, but I was really close with our daughter. But as our marriage was going through its difficulties, I made a huge mistake I still regret to this day. I started having an affair with my coworker. She was in a bad relationship at home. We became friends at work, and things just escalated from there. She got an out from me. She got the support she needed to file for divorce from her husband, who's currently in jail now. The affair went nowhere, and we called it off shortly after, but I was glad that she got out of her bad relationship and that she was okay. But when my ex-wife found out about the affair, things expectedly didn't go well. She lashed out and said a lot of horrible things about me to our daughter, who was 15 at the time. I admitted full fault with the affair, and even after the divorce, I sensed that the distance between me and my daughter was growing, until one day my daughter said she wasn't going to speak to me anymore, and she was going to cut me off from her life completely. That was the most painful thing anyone had ever said to me. I begged her to please reconsider. I still remember that day. But time passed on. My daughter kept her word, and after trying to contact her for the first year, I gave up. I found out from one of my mutual friends that my ex-wife married a great guy. I was happy because I was hoping that would remove the hatred from my ex-wife, and my ex-wife would advise our daughter to at least rekindle a relationship with me. But that never happened. I moved states a year later. I'm at peace now, but still have some aching sadness. I have retired. Both of my parents have passed on, so has my brother a few years ago. To be honest, I'm kind of just waiting for my turn. I have only my dog and my sister left. A couple of hours ago, my daughter called me on the phone. I haven't spoken to her in 17 years. I instantly recognized her voice, but I didn't feel anything. No happiness, no sadness, just indifference. She was crying a lot on the call, and we caught up on life. She's married, and she has a daughter who's now 12. She apologized for cutting off contact, and she says her mom asked her to reconnect with me, as her mom felt guilty about how everything played out. She said she really wanted me to meet her daughter, and her daughter was constantly asking about granddaddy. But I wasn't feeling anything. After we caught up on everything in our life, I told her that I don't care about her or her... I told her that I don't care about her or her daughter and to never contact me again. I then hung up. Was I the jerk? Update. Look, I was drunk last night. The words which came out of my mouth weren't the best, and my comments on my post weren't great either. Seeing how everyone said I was the jerk, I decided to call my daughter again an hour ago. I didn't really expect her to pick up the call, but she did immediately. I apologized for last night, and she said there was no need to apologize. I then sent her a link to this Reddit post on messages and told her that I know I was the jerk, and thousands of people said so. She again said that I wasn't the jerk. She started crying again. I told her she's free to come to my house anytime the next 4 months, because after that, I will be leaving the country with my sister and our dog. My parents left us a nice farmhouse in their home country, and we'll be spending the rest of our lives there. I sent her my address on messages, and my daughter said she'd come to visit with her husband and her daughter by the end of next week. She asked if she was welcome to stay there for multiple days, and I told her that she could stay for however long she wanted, as our house was spacious enough. Male staff must wear dress shoes or boots. The superintendent of my old school was comically rigid in his views and seemed to have his mindset stuck in the 1960s. He told us without a hint of irony that the only way students would respect us is if we were dressed professionally. Not even business casual was okay for him. Faculty wearing sneakers or blue jeans was a legitimate cause for termination under our contract. The male staff dress code demanded that we wear a long-sleeve button-up shirt with a tie, dress pants with a belt, and dress shoes or boots every day. There was, however, a note in our contract stating that the dress code could be reasonably relaxed, if not possible due to a medical condition. No details were provided beyond that. Well, my wife and I moved apartments one weekend and my feet hurt, so I made the executive decision that that was a medical condition, and I wore my sneakers to school on Monday. I figured I could just lay low and keep my feet hidden from any pesky administrators, and I knew that my students wouldn't care. My students actually thought it was awesome that part of my appearance was that of a real person. Wouldn't you know it, that was the day the superintendent and building administrators were coming around room by room to give the school board members a building tour. So of course I had to get up and greet them. Nobody said anything to me, but I did receive a nasty email from the assistant principal, with CC to the principal and superintendent, reminding me of the expectations set forth in the teacher dress code. No note in my file or anything, just a warning. Fair enough, I suppose, but it ticked me off that they didn't even ask why I decided to wear sneakers and just sent me a warning with no chance to defend myself. So, cue the malicious compliance. If you noticed from my post title, the dress code just said dress shoes or boots. Well, are you familiar with demonia boots? Those huge black boots with platforms on them that goths wear with silver chains on them and stuff? I went ahead and bought the most over-the-top, bombastic pair of boots on their website. I'm talking black leather with 3-inch platforms, chains, studs, zippers, and straps galore. They came about halfway up my shins, and of course I tucked my pants into them. My students thought they were amazing, and there are pictures of my feet all over various social media sites. A few of my coworkers took it upon themselves to give me a stern warning, and some others gave me a high five. After 4 days of wearing these boots with no incident, the principal ended up behind me in the hallway. Rather quickly, he asked, "What the heck are those?" So I told him they were boots to ensure that I'm in compliance with the dress code, and I kept walking. That afternoon, I received an email from him stating I was intentionally being unprofessional, and this would be documented in my record, and further dress code offenses could lead to disciplinary action or suspension. I immediately got in touch with my union, who quickly dealt with that in my favor, since they were indeed boots. I also explained to the union that I only did this because of the nasty email I received for wearing sneakers with my sore feet. The union rep immediately smirked, told me she was unfamiliar with that rule, and told me to go ahead and wear whatever footwear I wanted, and that if anybody had a problem, I could just claim I had sore feet. Long story short, I ended up wearing my sneakers every single day for the entire rest of the school year and never had another problem. My favorite part of this is that I inspired a few other rebels, and by the time I left that school, there were a solid 10 of us that were just routinely wearing sneakers or other non-dress code compliant footwear in blatant disregard of the dress code every single day. Good times. Definitely a legacy that I left behind in that school. Am I the jerk for forcing my husband to choose between divorce or being a house husband while I work full-time to support the family? Long story short, my husband, who's 37, used to work to support the family, while I, 36 female, stayed home taking care of our 2-year-old daughter. Last month, he lost his job and told me he felt exhausted and wasn't eager to do anything. I said okay and offered to work so that he could look after our daughter at home and get some rest until he feels better. By the way, our daughter goes to daycare, so it's mainly some housework and picking her up. But he said no, he needs his time to be completely free. I got furious because this means either I work while also taking care of our daughter or our family will face significant financial pressure. But I stepped back anyway and had a heck of a month doing everything while he hung out with his friends and played PS5. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore, and I told him he had to choose between being a house husband or divorce. He chose the first, but it felt forced. I keep questioning myself. Was I too harsh? Any good advice would be appreciated. Update. So I got off work, picked up my daughter, and showed my husband this post after she fell asleep. I told him that millions had seen it and made various points. I admitted that my ultimatum was an impulsive reaction and that I preferred having a calm discussion to work through this. He said he was surprised that I shared family matters on Reddit and that he wouldn't have done it himself. He said he wasn't feeling depressed, just tired and exhausted after years of working, and he just wanted to be childish for a bit and really enjoyed the month off. I kind of understood because we used to travel a lot before our daughter was born, and life has since been harder. I told him that I wouldn't force him to work and that he could take his time as long as he could pick up our daughter and do the housework. He hesitated but told me not to worry. I thought this was the end of it. Then the next day I came home from work to find his mother there. I was shocked because he hadn't told me anything. She started picking up our daughter and doing the housework. This is driving me crazy because I've never gotten along with her and my husband knows this. I feel like he asked her to come over so he could continue being childish, disregarding how I feel. His mother raised him as a single mom, and according to my husband, she was very protective and planned to live with him for his whole life. He felt suffocated, so he went to a university far away from home and reduced contact with her. I remember one time she came out and got sick, threw up, and I cleaned up her mess. Then she asked him to hand wash her clothes because they were dirty, even though we had a washing machine. My husband and I had agreed that our marriage was ours and that she wouldn't come and live with us. He broke his promise. I'm considering divorce, but I'm worried our daughter is too young to understand it. I thought about holding on for a while, but these days of living with her are already driving me crazy, and I don't see a quick end. I've thought about being a jerk and forcing her to leave, but that might lead to divorce. Husband wants to retire while his mom and wife take care of him. No, get that divorce already. He thought he didn't want his mommy in his business all his life, but deep down he absolutely does want to have a mommy figure take care of all of his problems for him, so he doesn't have to lift a finger when he doesn't feel like it. He genuinely doesn't see the problem. If wifey won't do his chores for him, then mommy will. As long as he's comfy and the chores are done, what's the issue? He's never going to change. He's too used to having someone else take care of his needs for him. I have a feeling lost his job is probably an understatement about what happened. OP already doesn't have a husband and her kid already doesn't have a father. Divorce is just putting it on paper and getting him to be enough of an adult to pay child support. Am I the jerk for refusing to allow cousin-in-law and his family to move in when they're about to be homeless? My husband's cousin Chris and his wife Rachel have 3 kids who are 13, 5, and 3, and we've hung out twice since our daughter, who's 7.5, was born. We're not close. Rachel's always been rude to me. Before my husband met me, Rachel had a thing for him and tried to date him. He never reciprocated, and when we became official, Rachel started dating Chris. Chris called asking if they can move in with us as they're homeless. Chris and Rachel missed rent payments and got evicted, and they've been couch surfing with their 3 kids for the past month or so. My husband said he would need to talk to me first. My immediate response was no. Husband agreed, although he felt bad. Chris's family had been giving them money to make their rent payments, and instead of paying rent, they used the money for other things. Chris works odd construction jobs and doesn't make much. Rachel claims she can't work because of ADHD. Chris called back, husband apologized and said that we don't have the space. Chris tried to say that we have 5 bedrooms. My husband clarified that we don't, we have 4, one of which is my office. Chris says he's disappointed and he would have helped us. My husband says that I work from home and I need the house to be quiet. Chris says he doesn't understand where we get the impression that their kids can't be quiet and he's offended. Rachel says we have the money and a big house to help, but that we would rather see 3 kids end up on the streets because I'm greedy. I snap and tell her that her kids are not my responsibility and I'm not comfortable sharing my home with strangers. It's not our problem that they mismanage their finances and that maybe she shouldn't have gotten her nails done every week and paid their rent instead. She responded that I don't understand how hard they have it because I'm privileged and providing for 3 kids isn't cheap. So I said maybe she should get a job and stop using ADHD as an excuse, and they should have thought about that before having kids, and hung up. Husband's phone starts blowing up with calls from family members. He picks up a call from Chris' dad, Paul. Paul wants to know why we're unwilling to help. I ask him why he and his wife haven't opened their home, as this is his son and grandkids after all. He says Chris and Rachel and the kids stayed for a week, but their house is too small and it didn't work out. I told him that we aren't close to Chris and Rachel, and we have no obligation to them, and I suggested he and his wife reopen their home to their son and grandkids. He says they did open their home, and now it's our turn. I laughed and hung up. So now my husband's family thinks that we're cruel and heartless. We also haven't disclosed that I'm pregnant, which is also a big reason, and I'll be going on maternity leave for a year in January, so we're trying to save up. Am I the jerk? I let my brother-in-law move in 9 months ago when he lost his job and became homeless. He still doesn't have a job, and I can't figure out how to get him to move out. You will be in the same boat. They aren't going to leave. OP, sorry you're going through this. This is what I'm afraid of as well. We have around 6 months until our new baby gets here, and that's not a lot of time. They can refuse to leave, and then we would be stuck with not having enough space and peace and quiet after the birth. We're dealing with evicting family from a property we're buying, and it's a nightmare. They had 4 years rent-free, and they're the victims. Never thought we'd actually have to get the courts involved after giving 6 months notice, but here we are. And they're getting a new free place to live. They just don't like it as much. Not the jerk. Unfortunately, I have a few friends that are close to homelessness, but they've already shown that if I try to help them, they're not going to take the situation serious enough, and it's just delaying the inevitable while burning bridges. One friend was desperate, but I live in the boonies and he doesn't have a car. If I took him in, then what? I'll just have someone in my place that doesn't have any real chance of getting a job. There's no escape, just a temporary fix that moves them even further from any real chance of recovery in their life. If they had a real solid plan that you believed and they just needed a few weeks to bounce back, then maybe. But so often in this situation, family just ends up taking advantage, and when they get kicked out, the rest of the family sides with them, even if you gave them months of free rent and food. No matter what, you'll be the bad guy. May as well be the bad guy with the quiet, clean house. I'm tired of picking up the slack for single mom coworkers. I fully expect a lot of flack for this. There's a number of other servers at my job who are single moms, and I feel like I can never rely on my set schedule because I'm one of the only servers who doesn't have kids or some kind of schooling or other acceptable obligation. Therefore, I'm the one who's expected to come in last minute when Susie forgot she had an appointment for her kids, or when Barb is having a baby daddy issue and has to call out. Worse than that, there are occasional attempts to guilt me if I push back, as if my free time is less valuable because I don't have any kids. I understand the life of a single mom is stressful. My sister is a single mom as well, and I don't want to underestimate just how difficult that life is to balance. I don't envy it at all. But when your choices are regularly messing with my personal scheduling, I find it increasingly more difficult to have sympathy. I'm actually leaving the industry soon to go back to my old career, but even my last couple of months are getting butchered. My 4th of July plans had to be canceled today because of, you guessed it, one of my single mom coworkers. It's like, why even bother trying to have a holiday? I'm so over this. Don't answer your phone on your scheduled days off. You aren't available. I worked with one lady who would always use her kid to get out of work. He wasn't a baby either. Once she skipped rolling silverware because she had to pick up her kid, but sat there and drank her shift beer, watching the rest of us do her side work. Like, holy cow, how disrespectful. She always would complain about money, but always ask to be first cut as well. I'd also highly recommend not having coworkers on your social media. I have a coworker that does this too, and it infuriates me. I'm a mom too, and now I'm getting home to my kids later because she skips her side work. The best adult life hack you can learn is to tell people no. Karen's sister-in-law demands to use my pool. My fiance and I own a house with a pool in the backyard. His sister, who we'll call Karen, had asked the day before if she and her family, her husband and 3 kids, could come over on Sunday to swim after one of the kids' sports games, which was at a park close by to us. Now, fiance and I, we own a small business together that requires work from home on Sundays. Everyone that we know is aware of this, including sister-in-law. I voiced my opinion that I felt it was weird for people to be at our house while we were working in the basement, but fiancé assured me that it would just be chill. He said it's normal for family to use each other's pools even if they aren't home. So we let them come over, thinking that they would be swimming for maybe an hour and then leave. But it wasn't just them. Fiancé's parents also came. We figured they would. But the kicker is that Karen also invited 2 of her friends, plus their partners and their kids as well. We do know these people, but both fiancé and I were not aware of this beforehand. So now it's a full-on party in our backyard while we're just working in the basement. I became very annoyed that they did not only invite themselves, but some of their friends as well. It made me feel guilty that I couldn't be in my own backyard to host people because I was working. It also felt like they were just using the house and didn't really care about seeing us, the homeowners. Not to mention, the house was a complete mess. We had a busy Friday and Saturday, and I didn't bother cleaning much before because I figured it would just be Karen's family. Everyone was here from 1 p.m. until 7 p.m. We finished work around 3 p.m., at which point my fiancé put on his swimming trunks to join them outside. I got in a pretty bitter mood from it all, and I just stayed inside. I didn't say hello to anyone because I figured they weren't even here to see me, just my pool. I did do some laundry and some cleaning up, and I ended up seeing a few people who were coming inside to use the washroom. I said hi and tried to make some small talk, but I really wasn't happy. Fiancé came in and said that I was creating an awkward and unwelcoming atmosphere by not being outside. I told him I never planned to have a party today, so I was just carrying on doing what I had originally planned, which was laundry and cleaning. Fiancé keeps saying that I was rude for not joining them outside after work. He also says things like, "The pool is meant to be used," and that it's family time. Am I the jerk? Edit. Answering those who have asked. We bought this house together, completely 50-50. Not the jerk. You're not obligated to host a party you don't want with people you didn't invite. This is a fiancé problem, not the jerk. Not the jerk, but you and your fiancé need to have a serious conversation about this. It's guaranteed not to be a one-time thing, and you clearly have different expectations about your home life. I hope you're prepared for unexpected and unwanted guests for the rest of your life. Your fiancé clearly thinks your home is a community center, and you clearly think it's a private place. Neither approach is wrong, but they are entirely incompatible. My fiancé's ex recently passed away, and my relationship is now in shambles. My fiancé, 30 male, and I, 31 female, have been together for nearly 3 years. We were super excited for our wedding that's going to take place 6 months from now. I had a hard boundary against exes in the relationship, and we both agreed that no pictures, no contact, no stories, nothing. Prior to meeting me, he was in a serious relationship for about the same time as us. However, his ex, 29 female, one day told him that she no longer loved him and they broke up. He was heartbroken and it took him months to heal. Since his ex was blocked, her mom contacted my fiancé and told him that she had cancer and wanted to meet him one last time. This was a difficult decision considering my boundaries, but I felt really sorry that this girl was going through this at such a young age, so I supported my fiancé's decision to go see her, but on the condition that I would be in the same room as them. Apparently, she had developed skin cancer, and the doctor had drawn up a prognosis for her a few months before they broke up. The ex told both of us that she wanted him to live a happy life with a woman who could share life with him, and she wished us well. That's why she lied about not loving him anymore, and that she always loved him this whole time. She recently passed 3 weeks ago, and my fiancé is a mess now. I can't unsee the way they both held each other's hands and the look of nostalgia and love in his eyes for her. As I was looking on, I felt like an outsider. It's so difficult and hurtful to see him cry about another woman who he once loved. I literally can't unhear things he said to his mom in the kitchen one day. I wonder what life could have been like with her. We could have been a happy family of our own. She wanted kids with me, and we could have named her Rose like she wanted. Where does this leave me? Why am I in his life still if he'd rather be with someone else? I promised myself that I'll only ever be with a guy for whom I am his one and only and first priority. I saw that in him before, but now I don't know. Trust me, I'm not a heartless person, and I would rather not put myself in any position where I'll consider myself to be a monster. But this feels incredibly complicated and extremely hurtful to feel like a third wheel in my once happy and thriving relationship. He's been reaching out to me for support, and I lent a listening ear, and he's been telling me so many stories from his time with her, and I didn't like any of it. My therapist told me while having empathy is important, I shouldn't have to lose myself in my relationship, even if circumstances are hard. 2 days ago, he received a package in the mail, and it was from the ex's sister. Apparently, it was a photo album from their old times together that his ex wanted him to have. My fiance held it so gently and teared up a little, and I literally broke down on the floor crying, having a panic attack. I think I almost unloaded all of what I've been feeling, the third wheel, the unfairness of the whole situation based on what my boundaries around exes had been. My anger at the ex for inserting herself in our lives for no good reason when both of us were literally so happy, and how things were panning out regarding our wedding, questioning where his loyalties lie, and I think I did it in one of the most hurtful ways. I told him that we need to pause our wedding plans for now and wanted a week or two off to think about our relationship. I'm at my sister's place and haven't been able to sleep or eat properly ever since. It's almost as if I'm falling out of love with my fiance, and he's been calling me and texting me nonstop. I feel so guilty right now. He was in a horrible place a few years ago, and I'm afraid I might be triggering that again. He says his ex is already passed, and it's gonna break him if I leave him too. If I leave him too? Emphasis on the two. I'm just done. What the heck am I supposed to do? Well, this is wildly complicated. On one hand, I think he's in mourning for not only this person, but also the relationship he thought they had. He mourned the relationship of someone who didn't love him, and I don't want to be that person, but you know he loved her, so her admission shifted things. On the other hand, I can understand your feelings. You're not a replacement for this woman, and you shouldn't be made to feel that way. I do think that once he's grieved all of the individual things, assessing things will be easier. But there should also be acknowledgement that like things said in anger, things said in grief also cannot be undone. If there is not anything he can do to truly undo the image you now have, then you need to be honest with yourself about that. I'm truly so sorry for you both. I think you're both experiencing grief for answers tied to someone no longer around. Please be gentle with yourself, because you don't sound like a monster. You sound like someone trying to support their partner through an issue that triggers things within you as well. Everyone's feelings here are valid. There's no monstrosity in that. My neighbors didn't like the color of my house, so they had it painted a different color while I was out of town. My house is on a corner lot. 2 years ago, a newlywed couple moved into the one house that's beside mine. Right away, they started making weird comments about the color of my house. It was yellow, and they soon switched to outright demanding that I painted a different color. My house was painted yellow when it was built. I like the color, and there is no bylaw against it or anything like that. They've even called the police on me about this, as well as the city, both of whom told them to buzz off because I hadn't done anything wrong and there was nothing they could do. They also tried suing me in court. The suit was thrown out and they had to pay my legal fees, and getting our other neighbors together to form a homeowners association in the hopes that eventually I could be forced to paint my house a different color. Our other neighbors also told them to buzz off and that they basically alienated themselves from everyone else in the neighborhood at this point. I recently had to go out of town for something. I was gone for 2 weeks. When I got back, 2 days ago, my house was gray. Seriously, I actually almost drove past it because I'm so used to it being yellow. I knew immediately who was responsible, but when I went over and knocked on their door, no one answered. I think the couple figured out that I was away and not just at work when they saw our neighbors collecting my mail for me, because I sure as heck never told them I was going away, and I know my other neighbors can't stand them too, so they wouldn't have told them either. The neighbor from across the street came over and showed me pictures that he took of the painting company setting up and doing the work. He said he and the other neighbors called the police, but the painting company had a valid work order and had been paid, so the police couldn't do anything about it. He also talked to them about it, but because they were paid to do the work, they said they had to do it to avoid being sued. I called the painting company to get a copy of the work order, and it was in the name of a Miss Jane Smith and was paid for in cash. A red-headed woman and her red-headed husband came to the company to hire them. My neighbors are both redheads, saying that they would be out of town and would like their house painted while they were gone. They gave the painting company pictures of my house taken from the street. I have a surveillance camera at the front and side doors and in my backyard because I work shifts, and as a woman living alone, I don't want some stranger breaking into my house and waiting to ambush me when I get home. My neighbors never set foot on my property at any time, so they can't be charged with trespassing, and they didn't do the painting, which was actually done properly. When I called the police, they reiterated that since the painters were hired, had a valid work order, and were paid to do the job, they can't be charged with trespassing because it was reasonable for them to not know, and they were acting in good faith and didn't cause any physical damage to the house. Also, the neighbors can't be charged with trespassing or vandalism because they didn't come on my property or touch the house themselves. I don't know if I can sue anyone because there was no actual damage or harm done to me or my house. My neighbors still have not answered their door or shown themselves. I am so ticked off because I liked my yellow house and I can't believe how crazy that they've been. I wish I could show a court or a city council how psycho that they've been over this. I want to know if I have any recourse or if I can do something to get them to pay to paint the house back to yellow. Does anyone know what I can do to get them to fix this and paint it back? Edit. I live in the state of Louisiana. Call your homeowner's insurance. File a vandalism claim. Insurance company pays you. Paint your house back to yellow. Give insurance company all the information and let them sue them. This is why you have insurance. They defaced your property. That's vandalism. Depending on how much it costs to fix, it may be a felony. You also have damages. The cost of painting your house back to the color you like. The principle applies to someone who paints a beautiful mural on a drab gray wall. That's still vandalism, even though in many respects it's an improvement. OP. The neighbors paid $4,000 in cash according to the painting company. Am I the jerk for insisting to my husband and his parents that I need help with our kids and we need to hire someone? My husband and I have 3 kids in our home. My stepdaughter is 9. I've known her since she was 2 and I became her stepmom when she was 4. We also have a 3-year-old son and a 10-month-old daughter together. To give some background info first, my stepdaughter's mom was not in the picture when I met my husband. She never wanted to claim any parental responsibilities, and when I met my husband, his ex had accumulated a lot of child support debt and had not seen my stepdaughter since the hospital. I signed up for being a second parent, and I love my stepdaughter, and in my heart, I consider her one of my kids just as much as my biological kids. We had such a good relationship. She would sometimes call me mom, sometimes my name, but she'd always say my husband and I were her parents, and she adored her brother when he was born. Over 2 years ago, her mom came back into the picture and said that she wanted to see my stepdaughter. My husband said it would need to be a gradual thing, but my stepdaughter had a right to know her. His ex didn't like that and sued for full custody, and yes, after having nothing to do with her for 7 years. She lost, but this started us on a step-up plan for her to gain some custody. It's been horrible. My relationship with my stepdaughter suffered badly because of all of this. Her relationship with her siblings also has suffered. She's rude to me now, refuses to listen to me, and rejects the 3 of us. It's always worse after she sees her mom. My husband took this issue to court, and the judge made it clear he will never sever the relationship between mom and daughter, no matter what. I'm struggling. If I give her the time and attention needed, it comes at the cost of our other kids. But if I'd focus just on them, it's not giving her the time and attention she needs, and the counselor told us that she needs to see I'm not going anywhere. She really emphasized this was important. The counselor even spoke to the judge, a different one this time, and the judge said he was going to follow the previous judge's decision that contact is never to be severed between mother and daughter. My husband brought this issue back to court because it was getting worse. So now we're at a point where I can't even be in charge of all 3 of them at the same time all day, especially now that school is out, but even during school time it's too much. I told my husband we need to hire some sort of helper for me with the kids. He was against it and told me it was a big expense after we spent a fortune on court and therapy. His parents heard us talking about it the other day, and they jumped in to say I wouldn't do this if all 3 were my biological kids, and I just want to pawn my stepdaughter off on someone else. I insisted this was not true to all 3, and I insisted I needed help because the kids will suffer in the long run, and so will my mental health. My husband felt guilty because I got very emotional, but his parents said I just proved I wouldn't do this if they were all really mine. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. It's clearly apparent that the ex is turning the kid against you. Not the jerk. But where is all the back child support? That's 7 whole years she didn't pay a dime. So that money would certainly hire an extra hand throughout the day. OP. It hasn't been paid. She doesn't have a job that we can tell and appears to be living off her parents and has no income to garnish or anything. It's very frustrating, but she still owes it and owes current support too, which also hasn't been paid despite being in court for that as well. Not the jerk. You need the help. You asked for the help. Even when the kids are biologically yours and they're having behavioral difficulties, it's okay to ask for help. Ask them what happens when you tire of this and do end up leaving. Is that helping the stepdaughter, or will your husband just have 2 other kids he now has to make time to see with no help? Would she then have to go to her mother full-time like she wants? That poor girl will be in for a world of hurt if you decide the juice isn't worth the squeeze and you end up resenting her, which could easily happen over time. That always seems like it will never be the case, but sometimes it just is. OP. I know, and it worries me that I will end up so worn down that I won't have anything to give to any of the kids. I can feel it coming already some days. Landlord wanted us to pay for renovation when moving out. He paid dearly instead. This happened a couple of years ago when my wife and I were moving out of our previous apartment. So moving day comes, landlord shows up, and we walk through the whole apartment with him to hand it over. Even though he has some minor complaints in the end, he agrees to refund the deposit in full and we part on good terms. A couple of days pass and we get a long, angry voicemail claiming he was renovating and notice that the room that was my former office smells really bad, claiming our cats have urinated in there repeatedly and we would need to come back and renovate the room ourselves, or otherwise he'd get a health inspector, contractors, etc., all on our dime to fix it. And he means tearing down the wallpapers, replacing the wood flooring, painting the walls, etc. My wife and I are dumbfounded. We do have cats, so we don't dismiss it outright, but we realize that this is basically impossible, as I use the room every day and we had the apartment professionally cleaned before handing it back, and there's just no way that what he's describing was there when we left. Maybe it was a raccoon that got in during the days the apartment was empty or whatever, but it wasn't our fault either way. So we call him to let him know that we won't cover it, and he gets really nasty, making all kinds of claims about the state of the apartment, about how he would twist everything and how he would make sure that we pay for this. After 10 minutes of back and forth, I just hang up on him. Expecting a massive bill to arrive at any point after this left us anxious and really started to mess with our heads during this time. And of course, we don't get our deposit back either. Because of this whole ordeal and seeing my wife being worried about all of this, I start to become really angry and dive a little deeper into our options. I discover that where we live, if a landlord does not formally claim a reason for holding back a deposit within 6 months of the end of the lease, they are by law required to refund it. So I figured that revenge is a dish best served cold, and we just need to wait it out for another 3 months or so, and after that, it's our turn. I calculate the exact date when the 6 months have passed, and 1 day later, just message him to please refund the deposit within 2 weeks. He just replies, "Yeah, sure, buddy." So we wait. No money comes. Then we sent a formal letter setting a second deadline. Again, nothing happens. I was actually hoping for that this time. So we hire an attorney and let her collect the money on our behalf. The landlord starts claiming all kinds of ridiculous damages, etc., which would let him keep the deposit, which the attorney simply dismisses as the time for claims has passed. Then for some reason, he only pays 80% or so of the amount due, so the attorney has to get at it again to get the full amount. Apparently, he's not realizing that all this is incurring hourly costs for the attorney, which he also has to pay, and he's legally liable to refund. So in the end, he pays the full deposit, interest, and a massive bill for our lawyer, far higher than the deposit. Needless to say, we are very happy with the outcome. Once everything is settled, my wife and I just sat in our new home's garden, had a glass of wine, and burned the old rental agreement while planning how to spend the deposit. Am I the jerk for not telling my ex that I'm married now? I had a weird situation happen last weekend and was hoping to get perspectives on if what I did was wrong. My wife and I were near Seattle last weekend visiting my family. We are both in our early 30s and are happily married for 4 years, together for 6. We went out to a bar on Saturday with a bunch of my friends to catch up. When I was going to the restroom, I felt a tap on my shoulder, and to my surprise, it was Jen, my ex. Jen and I dated for 4 years in our early 20s. Jen left me because she wanted to explore herself, and since I was her first boyfriend, she felt like she was missing something in life. I was very happy with her, and I had a job in tech that put us on a very stable financial path. I was probably a few months away from proposing to her. I was heartbroken, and it took me a few years before I could start dating again. Although Jen and I stayed friends for a year after our breakup, I went no contact with her so that I could move on and never talked to her since then. My wife knows about all of this. Back to the incident. Jen tapped on my shoulder, and I was surprised to see her. She hugged me, and we exchanged pleasantries. She was there with her friends, and they were all sitting at the bar. I knew most of them. They also came to say hello. We chatted for a few minutes before I felt like I needed to end the conversation. We mostly talked about what I was doing back in my hometown and how we've been. I abruptly told her that it was nice to see her after years and that I need to go back to my table as I'm out with my friends. She said okay, and I quickly turned around. To my surprise, my wife was standing right behind me. My friends identified Jen from our table, and my wife came to stand next to me. I told my wife, "What a weird coincidence," and took her hand and went back to the table. When I sat at the table, all my friends started talking about Jen. My wife seemed visibly uncomfortable about the interaction. I tried to change the subject, but I learned that Jen married someone a few years ago, and they got divorced last year. She moved back to our hometown so she can stay at her parents' house until she figures things out. My wife seemed really interested in Jen's life and asked a lot of questions while I was just trying to avoid the whole topic. When we were driving home, my wife asked me why I didn't tell Jen that I was married and that she was my wife. She feels I should have introduced her to Jen so that Jen can see I'm happily married to my wife. I told her I was just trying to end the conversation as I went no contact with her a long time ago and I prefer to keep it that way. My wife asked me how I felt after seeing her after a long time. I told her that I was surprised since I was not expecting to see her, but to be honest, I felt like she was a stranger. I told my wife that I did feel sad that things didn't work out for her. My wife was upset because she felt like I should have introduced her to Jen. She felt that Jen hugged me for too long and I should clearly have told Jen that I was married and have a lovely wife. My wife feels she came all the way from the table to stand next to me and felt slightly insulted that I didn't include her in the conversation. From my perspective, I was just trying to get out of the conversation, and I don't see how it would have helped anyone. The issue became worse the next morning when Jen sent me a friend request on Instagram and also messaged me on my phone saying it was nice to meet me. I feel that triggered my wife, and for some reason, my mom, who went on a rant about Jen because she hated Jen when we were dating. That made my wife very happy. My wife feels that I did not communicate clearly to Jen that I was married, and that was the reason why she messaged me the next day. I rejected the follow request on Instagram and also did not respond to her message. However, a part of me feels my wife might be right and I did do something wrong here. Am I the jerk for not telling Jen that I was married and introducing her to my wife who was standing right next to me? I just wanted to get out of the conversation and was in a hurry to end it. I don't understand how you spent time catching up but didn't bring up your wife once, even if it's just by insinuating by using we instead of I pronouns. I'm married, and it's natural to say we without even thinking about it. We're visiting the family. We just bought a new house. It also seems more natural for you to have told your ex, I have to get back to my wife, instead of I have to get back to my friends. Like, you were with your wife first and foremost. Hopefully she's not an afterthought to your friends. And if you truly wanted to end the conversation, your wife was a built-in excuse. Sorry, I really have to go. My wife's waiting for me. I do find your behavior kind of odd. Is there a chance that, at least subconsciously, you didn't want Jen to know that you were married? Update 2 days later. We came back home yesterday. Although my wife seemed to have gotten over the incident, I decided it would be best to apologize to her and let her know that I did not have any wrong intentions. It was just a deer in a headlight moment for me, and I should have introduced her to Jen. At night, when my wife was scrolling her phone in bed, I decided to bring up the topic. I told her that I wanted to apologize for the incident on Saturday. I know I messed up royally, and I should have introduced her to Jen, so she can see that I'm happily married now. I told her that I was just surprised to see her, and I really wanted to get out of the conversation as soon as possible. My wife said it was okay, and she saw how flustered I was when I was talking to Jen. She said that when Jen saw me and hugged me, everyone at the table started staring at us. One of my friends, Rita, made some scandalous comments regarding why Jen is doing schmoozing with me. My wife had never seen Jen's picture and took her a while to realize that it was Jen. She thought she would stand next to me, and once I tell Jen that I'm here with my wife, she would leave me alone. However, when she stood next to me for more than a minute, I didn't notice. Jen noticed her and gave her a dirty look. Once I turned around to go to the table, she was hoping I would introduce her to Jen, so Jen would know she was my wife and not some random girl standing next to me. However, I just hurried back to the table with her. I again apologized to her and told her that from my perspective, I was just trying to finish the conversation and get back to the table. In hindsight, I should have done what she said, but I froze in the moment and was not thinking straight. She again asked me why I was acting so weird around Jen. I wish I had a better answer, but talking to Jen just felt wrong, and all I was thinking was I needed to get back to my wife. I asked her if she felt bad that I was talking to Jen or that she hugged me. She told me that she has always been curious about Jen since I was so close to marrying her, and when she saw me around her, she felt I was still acting like how someone acts around their crush. Moreover, she saw Jen and realized how beautiful she was and felt insecure in that moment. My friends making a big deal out of it didn't help either. She asked me if I ever wished Jen did not break up with me. I told her that if I had a time machine, I would wish 100 out of 100 times that Jen would break up with me so that I got to meet my wife and build such a beautiful life together. This made her smile and she gave me a big hug. I asked her if I should message Jen and let her know that I'm married. She said there's no need to do that since my profile picture on Messages is a picture with my wife, and Jen should have seen that already. Also, my Instagram is public with a lot of pictures of my wife and me, so she asked me just to ignore her messages and get on with our lives. Again, thanks to everyone for being so brutally honest, as I would expect from Reddit. Am I the jerk for disinviting a friend from an event after she gave my ticket to her sister? Back when Taylor Swift Era Tour tickets were released, my friend Sadie said she would grab us tickets and not pay her back. She made concrete plans and I was excited. I've been a Swiftie for years, but haven't seen her live. I had to sell my Rep Stadium Tour tickets back in the 2010s because I needed the money to help with my mom's medical bills. I booked the hotel. This past weekend, I was having a little get-together for a bunch of friends, and Sadie was of course invited. At some point, she pulled me aside and told me that she had news. She's leaving in September. I was heartbroken. We've been friends for years, and I love spending time with her. I got weepy, and I hugged her a bunch, and I said that we needed to get all of our thrifting trips in over the summer and hang out as much as we could. Then she broke the news that as a way to bond with her sister before she left, she was going to be taking her to the Eras Tour instead. I didn't know how to react. She stood in front of me and Venmo'd my payment back. She was like, "I know you understand." I said that this was a sneaky move and honestly really crappy of her, and I don't understand how or why she would do that to me. She got defensive and said that they were under her name and that she didn't owe me anything. I was like, yes, they are your tickets. Legally, you can do whatever you want, but this is still a really crappy and sneaky thing to do to your friend, knowing that there's no way I'll be able to get my own tickets at this point. She just kind of shrugged and said, "Sorry, but I figured you'd understand." I asked her to leave and told her to please not come back for the 4th of July party next week. I said I needed to process this and that I'm really disappointed with her and how she's treating me. This is a girl who I consoled through breakups, job losses, pet losses, etc. She looked shocked and asked if I was serious. She ended up stomping off and leaving and texted me later to tell me that she's around if I want to apologize for making her feel bad about taking her sister on a bonding trip. I'm honestly heartbroken that I'm going to be watching my show on a grainy live stream instead of being there in the stadium with everyone. I was looking forward to this so much. I checked the resale sites and had a sad little cry about it. I'm wondering if I'm completely wrong to have just uninvited her. Is that too far? If it was in, say, a month or two, I don't think I would have. I just need time. Edit. I just want to follow up by saying that I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm not going to sue her over this. I don't really think that this is a normal reaction or something that I would enjoy doing. Please don't hate me. Not the jerk. She didn't get herself tickets and invite you as a guest friend, then uninvite you, which would still be lousy. She agreed to buy a ticket on your behalf with the understanding that you were paying for it. That's how groups of people buy tickets if they expect to sit together. It was your ticket. It wasn't hers to give away. She's a garbage friend. I'd probably never speak to her again. Not the jerk. And you're handling this more maturely than I would. That's a genuinely crappy thing to do to a friend after essentially confirming plans. Not the jerk. This wasn't a case where she said, "Hey, I have an extra ticket for the show and whoever wants to buy it," and you jumped in first. She bought it on your behalf and you paid for it. The instant you paid for it, it was your ticket, not hers. The fact that it was under her name means nothing once money changed hands. Not the jerk. It was your ticket technically, and she did just give it away. It wasn't hers to give away though. That being said, I would ask yourself if you really want this to be the last memory you have with your best friend. It is just a Taylor Swift concert after all. Am I the jerk for not inviting my brother and sister-in-law over because of what happened at the last family gathering? At our last big family gathering, which includes extended family, there was an argument between myself and my brother's wife. I was in charge of making up leftover plates for anyone to take home if they wanted. I gave John, my brother, and Lucy, his wife, 3 plates of food, including the leftovers of the dishes they brought with them. I gave them to John to put in his cooler in his car before they left. The next day, I got a call from Lucy asking if I gave my brother the food, which I said I did. She told me there was only 1 plate that was half empty instead of the 3 plates and 2 Tupperware boxes I had actually given my brother. I was confused and said John took them off the counter, so ask him. Well, John told Lucy I had refused to give them the extra food and kept it for myself. Lucy was not pleased by this and told everyone in our family that I had stolen their food. I maintained my innocence the entire time because this isn't what happened. If this was all it was, I wouldn't have minded, but Lucy took it way too personally. She began to insult me by saying I didn't need any more burgers and I should have stolen the salad instead. She said she doesn't blame me for stealing because I'm so poor and I work a dead-end job. Lucy's animosity didn't stop for over a year and she would always bring it up any chance she got. I'm the one hosting this year and I have not invited John or Lucy. When they asked why they didn't receive an invitation, I said, "Are you kidding?" and hung up. Not the most mature, but I was so shocked at their audacity to ask. My brother texted me to suggest a sit-down between myself and Lucy, but I didn't get the point of that since she will always think of me as a villain in this ridiculous story. It was then that my brother confessed that he ate all of the missing food in the car, and he felt so embarrassed by it that he lied to Lucy about me, refusing to give them the food. I was in awe. I knew he had lied, but not the details of why he lied. I told him he's a huge jerk, and he needs to come clean to Lucy now. I guess he did, because Lucy then called me, apologizing profusely. She said she had no reason to doubt my brother, as she was already feeling left out and an outsider, so she lashed out. I thanked her for her apology, but said I didn't forgive her. She said so many awful things to me over the 2 missing plates of food. I said they still weren't invited to the gathering and that they're welcome to host their own, which I obviously wouldn't attend. This made my brother really mad. They were on speaker together. A few hours later, I got some texts from our mom telling me to just get over it and invite Lucy and John. I just put my foot down and said if they show up, they won't be let in my home. The whole situation has caused a rift in the family. Half are telling me I can't not include my brother, and the other half are saying Lucy's a jerk for her comments. Lucy and John are still very mad. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk, but I'm confused why you didn't confront your brother much sooner. He's the worst jerk here. He caused it, watched the rift develop, and did nothing for a year. He has zero right to be angry with you. He owes the groveling apology, not just his wife. Equally, sister-in-law has zero right to be angry with you. She should direct her anger where it belongs, at her husband. Stop discussing with the rest of your family. It's none of their business. They can come to the event or not, but the discussion is closed. My sister is furious with me because I won't change a tire for her, but I've offered to teach her how to do it numerous times. I, 38 male, have a half-sister who's 27. She and I have the same mom, but different dads. Neither of our dads have ever been very involved in our lives, so I have kind of been the only male role model she's ever had. We never had much money growing up, so I started taking odd jobs around 14 to 15 for extra spending money. Yard work, paperboy, shoveling, etc. We lived in a smaller town, and I ended up meeting a few middle-aged guys who were kind of do-it-all handymen, and they took me under their wing. They taught me a lot about tools, cars, carpentry, you name it. I was never good in school, but these two were a wealth of information, and I ate it up. I worked hard in my 20s, and I was able to purchase my sister a cheap used car when she turned 16. I tried to teach her everything I felt she should know about basic car stuff, but she had no interest whatsoever. She just wanted to drive around with her friends. She would always say, "Why do I need to know how to do ABC when I can just pay someone to do it?" No matter how many times I offered to show her how to change the oil or swap a tire, she just never took me up on it. She has since purchased a newer car of her own, and I've helped her with a couple of basic repairs to avoid having to take it to a shop. Each time I offered to show her what, how, and why I'm doing something, but she refused to even attempt to learn. She's very much a girly girl and has zero interest in that sort of thing. Last Saturday, I got a call from her at about 10 p.m. She had just gotten off work and got a flat tire on our way home. She lives in the boonies and works 20 miles away, and she was stranded about halfway home. It was also pouring rain. She was upset because she didn't know what to do and wanted me to come help her. Problem was, I had spent that evening drinking with some friends, so no way was I driving there. I told her that she would have to either call a tow truck, roadside assistance, or wait there until morning when I could drive to her. None of these options were acceptable to her, and she got upset with me. She asked if I could talk her through changing a tire over the phone, and I laughed. This made her even more upset. I told her that I've offered over a dozen times to show her how to do that sort of thing, but she's always refused. I told her that I would gladly show her the next day, but no way was I going to try to talk her through it right now. She hung up, but she did text me a few minutes later to tell me that a friend is coming to pick her up. No thanks to me. The next morning, my mom called me and told me that my little sister called her and told her what had happened the previous night. She told me that she's disappointed in me for not helping my sister and that I shouldn't have laughed at her when she was upset because it only made things worse. Shortly after, my little sister texted me that I was a jerk for not doing more to help her and that I was a jerk for laughing at her when she was in trouble. Not the jerk. You tried many times to teach her, but she just wasn't interested. Her lack turned around to bite her. Of course it's funny. She wasn't really in any trouble. She could always pay someone to come help her. In fact, the minimal forethought to have an auto club membership would have been all she needed. Tell your sister she's the roof don't leak when it don't rain type. She's old enough to be able to plan ahead. I have roadside assistance because I can't physically change tires due to a health issue. But to be honest, I never wanted to do it either. So if she isn't going to do it, she needs to be able to take care of it herself. Not the jerk. You mean the little princess is upset you didn't take care of everything for her. Wow, shocker. Sure, if you'd been sober, laughing would have been over the top. Not your fault for your state of mind. Poor planning on her end does not constitute an emergency on yours. She's 27. Take some accountability for not learning in the previous 11 years. This is exactly why people who don't know how to do these things have AAA or roadside assistance. If you don't want to learn, you have to pay other people to do these things, not the jerk. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his sister? Please let us know. Lots of people have roadside assistance on their auto insurance and they don't even know about it. Check with yours so you'll know. Or you can watch a 10-minute tutorial on YouTube teaching you how to change a tire. It's really easy. My boyfriend thought my advice to his little cousin about the industry was rude and discouraging. I truly don't see how I was. So before I even start, I want to say that I'm not a hater. I love the art so much. I wanted to be an actress when I was a kid as well, until I saw what it took. My father has been in the entertainment industry for 30 years. He's been a comedian, producer, television writer, actor, anything under the sun, my father has done it. As a kid, I helped my father a lot, acting in audition tapes, watching his shows, helping him promote, reading his TV scripts, listening to his comedy bits. Me and my whole family even did an episode on the Discovery Channel. I have done and seen it all. My father is now a really great comedian. He's not world famous, but he has some videos that went viral, and he's appeared on a few TV shows. However, he has shown me what it takes to become an actor. That is, to become viral. Multiple times, agents have turned him down because my dad doesn't have 50,000 to 100,000 followers. It was heartbreaking because my dad has this amazing rapport, but since he's not internet famous, he gets cast aside. Don't get me wrong, he makes pretty decent money now, but nowhere near Kevin Hart status. Now I saw my boyfriend's little cousin and she was talking about how she is bouncing around careers. She's thinking about either becoming a musician, actress, or an animator. Her cousin went to Juilliard and has been on Broadway. She's a huge hero for her. I told her honestly, as a person whose family has been in the entertainment industry, I would say do animation. Nowadays, they're looking for people to go viral, and it can be very difficult to become an actress unless you are a child actor. I also explained how people are getting turned down if they don't have at least 100,000 followers. To add to this, his cousin does not have a rapport. She has done a few musicals for her high school, but that's it. She has not taken any acting classes, she has not participated in an acting program, nor does she have an internet following. She's only 16, but I was just trying to show her the reality. Out of all that, I believe animation would be a wonderful segue into the entertainment industry. However, she still wants to try to get into an art school and build an acting rapport through her university. I said, all right, you do what's best. I suggest that you try to find an acting program while you're still this young. My boyfriend then tells me, why did you tell her that? That's not true. I was like, excuse me? Yes they are. That's literally why my dad has been turned down from several roles, along with hundreds of other actresses. He said, no, you can go to a university and build connections and become a theater actress that way. Being an influencer isn't acting. That's not what they're looking for. I responded, that's exactly what they're looking for. They want a fan base to buy tickets to their movies and shows. That's why they want people with a following. After that, I left. I was not about to have him mansplain to me a subject of which he has no experience. I wasn't trying to be rude to her. I thought I was just trying to give her the best advice. Was I truly discouraging? My degree is in speech and theater. I went to school with people who now have Grammys, Oscars, and Emmys. I know others with nominations in them all. I know people who made it to Broadway, know a guy who's a really big deal in the Marvel universe, and I know a ton of award-winning writers. None of this means anything in terms of return on investment for a degree. And even if you get all those accolades, you can still be living in a box under the overpass. But you can't convince a young artist the hard facts. You warned her, now leave it alone. Smile and nod at ever musing of the dream. If you have the time, buy a ticket to her show, post a congratulations. When the inevitable comes, just say, I told you so, to yourself. OP, I've been trying to explain this. Tell me, as a fellow person in the entertainment industry, do you believe that there was some truth to what I was saying, and that my partner is being extremely naive? Oh, I left the industry almost as soon as I began because there's so much truth to what you're saying. I was in acting and music a very long time ago before influencing was a thing. Within the writing world, which I dabble in occasionally now, some publishers want you to have a large following to publish your book. Then you go through all of this to make pennies on the dollar because pay is not the same. Pennies for millions of music streams, pennies for millions of views on streaming services. Writing on a show now condensed to a few weeks versus months to the point you don't even qualify for health insurance because you either don't work enough or didn't make it. She would do better by doing exactly what you said, creating her own platform and going viral. She would at least keep 100% of the profits versus pennies she has to split 5 ways. You're not wrong. I teach theater to youth. The most difficult is knowing that even if a kid has that it factor, their chances are slim. If that kid can dance, sing, play an instrument, then it goes up. Add in them knowing more languages, being adorable or cute. Extra bonus points if they can actually act. The industry is tough as nails. Parents want the best for their kids, and I tell them to ensure the kid gets an education with a degree to fall back on. There is no guarantee, never. So just go to school, work hard, and have your fingers crossed. I shot several pilots, was an understudy for a huge musical that came into my city. But my break never came. I'm grateful for the time that I have had trying for it professionally. I now work more in community theater and enjoy knowing that I always have a place here. You did your best. The most difficult is trying to explain to someone how hard it actually is, especially when they have no clue, and the fact that if they fall into the pretty category, they will hear how easy it is. I have a student right now. She got an agent, has done some commercials and modeling. She has talent and the it factor. Her agent wanted her in LA for pilot season, which I agreed with. But she flakes out too much. So much so, her father has told her post-secondary school would be better until she matures enough and realizes that it is a business that needs to be worked on every single day, a lifestyle to live in. I also agree with them. She currently has no drive right now, other than it can be fun for her. She says she wants it. But, and that's another thing, your drive has to be there. Every day, every moment you have to want to continue going like your dad does. You did your best, OP. It's best to leave it alone. Unless the cousin seeks you out for assistance, guidance, or support, just leave it in the past. If your boyfriend brings it up, simply tell him that you have spoken from a place of wisdom and observance and knowing. Continue to move forward. You're not wrong. Lots of people react poorly to being told that their dream or their family member's dream is harder to attain than they want to believe. Your boyfriend, and possibly his cousin, didn't want to hear the truth and lashed out because of it. They're wanting to substitute real reality for their reality that's in their heads, which says that the cousin is about to be the next huge hit with almost no work. If I were you, I'd wait a bit to cool down, then write him an email explaining briefly how the industry works and how you know that's how it works, and then explaining that his mansplaining was both wrong, insulting, and hurtful, and that you want an apology. Say you're sorry that the reality of show business is harsh, but that's reality, and him throwing a tantrum isn't going to change that. Hopefully your boyfriend will pull his head out of his backside. If not, then you'll have to figure out how to navigate a larger problem with your guys' relationship. Good luck. I got a scholarship for theater. One of my professors pointed out the average salary for theater majors after graduation was $6,000 a year. Most of us changed majors. I know one guy who didn't, moved to New York City, got a job at Starbucks. I saw him in a J.G. Wentworth commercial a few years ago. I work in entertainment law. Everything that came out of your mouth was the God-honest truth, and though you can never spare the determined, otherwise LA would run out of waitresses, you can mentally prepare her for life in that industry. If it was hard for me to just be a paper pusher behind the talent, I can only imagine how world-crushingly hard it is to be the actual person in the spotlight. I don't even wish it upon my kids or the kids of my enemies. Do us all a favor. Be a dentist or something. Update 1 day later. The argument made the house a bit heated for a while. Usually I come back and try to work things out or have a more understanding perspective. However, this time I couldn't. I just felt so disrespected that he would try to mansplain to me a subject he knows nothing about. Eventually, he came back and apologized to me. He said, "I am so sorry. I don't even know why I tried to argue with you. I truly don't have any experience in this field, and what I did amounted to nothing." I said, "Listen, I understand there are a lot of things I don't know about. That's why I always try to listen and understand when you have a different opinion. But this is the one thing that I know for a fact. Why can't you just take my word for it this one time? It makes me feel like you can't trust what I tell you." He said, "I know, and I was thinking about that as well. You almost always engage with me in these kinds of conversations, and it should not have been hard for me to just say, 'You're right,' because you are. I am your partner. I shouldn't be making you feel like you don't know anything because you know way more than I ever could. I guess I'm just used to always talking that way with my family and you. I am very sorry, but I'm going to work on it." So I decided to forgive him. However, he owes me a boba today. I don't know if acting is harder to get into than animation or not, but even animation, oh no. The working conditions with big companies will destroy your body, mind, and soul, and the competition to get into any of these better ones is insane. You have to be so driven to thrive there. If the cousin does try animation instead, I'd recommend her doing it as a hobby to see if she has what it takes, or just go indie from the get-go. So my question is, why did almost everybody overlook the fact that OP was being a huge jerk to a young artist? I don't care if what they said was right or wrong, it's how you say it, and if you care even a little about the person, you think twice. If the 16-year-old is too sensitive to hear about this from her cousin's girlfriend, then she's extremely not ready for what she will hear in the entertainment industry. Whoever said to become a dentist is right on. I have a business degree and worked in management consulting for a bit. One of my projects was with a company that has a dental supply division. I got to learn a lot about dentists in the surrounding industry. If you have the drive to establish your own practice or get an equity partnership in a large practice, you can make serious money. If I could do it all over, I would have went to dental school. Well, what do you think? Was OP the jerk for what she said to her boyfriend's cousin or not? Please let us know. My wife cheated on me, but immediately confessed and wants to work on fixing our marriage. My wife cheated on me 4 days ago. She went to visit her parents, and while staying there, she went out with some of her friends. They went to a bar and had drinks. There was a guy hitting on her the entire night. One thing led to another, and she hooked up with him. Afterwards, she was horrified about it. She ran to her parents' house, where she started panicking and crying, and she told them what she had done. 2 days ago, she came home and immediately sat me down to confess. I was already stressed from work, so hearing this didn't help. I was enraged. Somehow, I kept all my rage in check and I asked her to explain. She didn't hide anything. She told me everything in detail. She was crying, but not excessively. I guess she understood that tears wouldn't change anything. She gave me her phone, told me that her parents know, and said that she would like to rebuild trust in our marriage. She will do whatever she needs to and whatever I want her to, but also that she will accept whatever I decide. For the past 2 days, I have felt nothing but numbness. We barely eat, and we haven't said more than a few words to each other. I sleep in another room, and I don't eat what she prepares. I cook for myself now, and she doesn't like it. It makes her even more sad. She doesn't go out of our room. She's mostly crying, talking to herself, or reading the internet on what she can do. Here's what I'm thinking. 1. The easy and probably best solution is divorce. There is no trusting a cheater, and there's nothing she can do to bring back time and return to how things used to be. 2. A somewhat optimistic but painful solution is reconciliation. She came clean on her own, willingly gave up her phone and accounts, and told the same story to her parents, which makes her somewhat trustworthy. Her father messaged me to think about it, but said he will understand whatever I decide. She's ready to do whatever she needs to rebuild our marriage. I thought about couples counseling, but I'm not sure if I want to go there. I didn't cause this, she did. One person destroyed this, not two. I don't know what to do here. This was the last thing I needed in my life, but here we are. Is it normal to feel nothing? Right now, I don't feel anything. It's like I don't care anymore. Update. The truth is, I'm not doing well. I'm depressed, and I have no clue what I want to do about my marriage or with myself, to be honest. My wife had her birthday 2 days ago, so I decided to call and meet with her. We met, and I even bought her a small cake with 1 candle as a present. She cried her eyes out and told me that she thought I had forgotten about her birthday and that I wouldn't want to congratulate her because I can't stand her. In all honesty, I felt genuine happiness and warmth inside when I saw how happy she was with my present. The gift itself isn't anything special or expensive, but I suppose it reminded both of us of better times. However, those feelings faded quickly when I remembered what had happened between us. We talked deeply about our relationship, our emotions, and our lives. The conversation was more emotional than I thought it would be. She spoke much more than I did, expressing how awful she feels about hurting me and acknowledging that she can't undo her actions. Despite this, she showed me how she's been actively working to improve herself. She's writing a journal, which is new for her, and she's reading extensively on reconciliation, watching various videos, and seeking therapy. She quit her job to find a better one, but hasn't had any luck yet, and now she's taken up painting as a new hobby, which I think is pretty cool. I think she's really making an effort to change, and I've seen a shift in how she acts. But every time her cheating comes up, she can't look me in the eyes and seems scared when she talks about it. Is she ashamed of what happened? I'm not sure. Is she horrified by her actions? I don't know. I did tell her that I'm happy she's focused on improving herself, whether it's for our relationship or for someone else's sake. That made her cry. I've never been great in social situations, and I struggle to read people well. But from what I've observed, I think the gravity of what she did is beginning to weigh on her, and I'm fairly certain it will only get worse. I did receive an update on her affair partner. She completely cut him out of her life, removed him from everything, blocked, unfollowed, after a major, really ugly fight. The dude bailed out after hearing that we were separating and that our marriage is falling apart. I guess he thought that she would be with him after she leaves me, so he ran away. He doesn't want the responsibility of a relationship. On top of being a cheater, she also got used and then disposed of. I don't know how she feels about that personally, but I think it's terrible. What her true intentions were with her affair partner, I will never know. No matter what she says about it, I don't think I'll get a straight answer. If he hadn't bailed, would she have chased him? Would she still be trying to reconcile if he hadn't bailed? Would they be together? Was her cheating a rash decision, fear of missing out, or maybe pressure? I don't have answers to those questions. She wanted to know if I'm willing to try again. She told me that whatever I decide, she will honor, respect, and understand. I told her that I don't know yet, because I really don't. I need therapy myself. I thought I could deal with this on my own, that I'm that strong and iron-willed, but clearly I'm not. I feel like I'm sinking deeper and deeper with every passing day. I could have been a jerk and told her to go buzz off. Your word now means nothing. It's too late for that, etc. But I told her the truth, that I don't know and that I want us to stay separated until I make a decision. I also told her that our future is uncertain. I'm not promising her anything. Her work on herself, trying to be better and do better, doesn't mean I will take her back or give her a second chance. She said she understands and that she's willing to put even more work into proving to me that she can change and be a good wife in person. She is also ready to invest time and resources despite knowing that all of her efforts could be in vain in terms of saving the marriage, though not in terms of self-improvement. I told her that she doesn't have to prove anything to me. She betrayed herself first and foremost. I think this affected her really badly because I could see a change on her face, like something died inside. I told her to stay safe and left. When I came home, I realized that this was the first proper heart-to-heart we had in a really long time. It's so sad that the circumstances of our heart-to-heart are so terrible, sad, and even horrifying. If only it had been due to something positive and loving. I'll probably do one more update in a few weeks or months, depending on how long it takes me to figure out what to do. So sorry for you. I wish the best for you. If you move forward with staying with your wife, you have to give her total trust. Otherwise, I think the lack of trust will eat you up every time she's away from you. If you divorce, no one will blame you. Time to put effort into yourself. Can I suggest the gym, catching up with friends, movies, read, cycle, see a show, anything? Just get out and distract yourself. People say it takes a year before you feel better. It's going to take time. I have a friend going through a similar thing and he's thinking of moving states, starting a new job, meeting new people, etc. He's going to tell people where he is, but anyone who doesn't support his choice is getting cut out. So she went out for drinks, met a dude at a bar, and then ended up hooking up with him? Dude, you need to work on yourself and how to move on. All the good feelings you feel around her is only more reason because she had that all the time and it didn't stop her from doing this. Your marriage is over. You answered your own questions in the middle paragraphs. She chose to explore her options, greener pastures, but got used up and dumped. She's settling for you. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Trust and respect are lost. I keep meeting my birth mom, but she doesn't know it's me. She had me when she was 14, and I, 24, male, was given up for adoption. My parents told me about her growing up. I still have the letter she wrote me, and then she asked if they could give it to me. It's crazy reading it sometimes and knowing it was a literal kid who wrote it, saying she's sorry that she couldn't be my mommy, but she hopes I'm okay. She was open to having contact, but we moved from my dad's job when I was 11, and then it seemed impossible to find her. But luckily, I did. She's working at this small restaurant, and I keep going, but she doesn't know it's me. We talk sometimes, and she seems like a nice lady. Sometimes when she says something like, "Do you want a refill, honey?" or uses another term like that, I want to tell her. I don't know why it makes me nervous. We talk sometimes, and she seems really genuine. If it's not super busy, she's more open to talking about random stuff. I literally drive 2 hours to come eat at this place just to see her, and it's like she knows me already because I'm there once or 2 times a week for the past 3 months, so she always says hi with a big smile. But man, if she only knew. Update. Well, I did it. I told her. And yeah, it was pretty heavy. My heart was even beating fast. I kept trying to think how to tell her. Many of the commenters on my last post here mentioned writing her a letter just how she wrote a letter for me. Originally, that was the plan, but for me, it felt like I needed to say it. Oh, really quick, I want to say thanks to everyone for your love and support, mostly to all the birth parents out there who shared their stories with me. That's what really helped me push to have the courage to confront her. It meant so much, so thanks. Everything happened the day before yesterday, by the way. I did wait for her to be done with her shift, and that was when they were closing the restaurant already, and waiting in the parking lot. We said hi when she saw me first, but then I told her there was something serious that she needed to know. First, I told her sorry for keeping it from her this long. She didn't react until I actually pulled out her letter, and she started bawling from here, like screaming and crying at the same time, and I didn't even have to finish the whole "I'm your son" speech. She just saw it and knew. It was crazy. Next thing I know, she's hugging me instantly, but then she pulled back and asked if it's okay to hug me. Of course it is, and we're just there hugging each other and crying in the parking lot. It hit her hard though. Her legs gave out for a second, so I had to actually hold her up while she's still hugging me for a minute. What really got me was her saying to look at how big I got. Also, hearing her cry made me cry too. She went back to open the restaurant up. She wouldn't take no for an answer. We had coffee, ate a slice of their pie, and talked. So much stuff that we talked about. She told me the second time I came to the restaurant, she got a feeling, but for her it was hard to believe it was me. So that feeling she had was pushed way down. Because she told me for years after I was adopted, she saw kids that would be my age and used to think they were me. Then she would be crying in public. It really messed with her mind a lot and made her depressed, so she didn't want to do the same when she saw me, getting her hopes up like that. She says I look so much like my biological dad when he was younger though. We talked about him too. They stayed in contact with each other in case I ever reached out to one of them, so it would be easier to contact the other. I didn't have hope about finding my biological dad since he was never mentioned, so I'm glad they both planned for the future scenario. She told me about how they wanted to keep me, especially my biological dad. He didn't want me to be adopted, but he knew they had to because they were just kids. It took him a long time to get over it is what she told me. That's why he didn't leave anything, because he didn't want to believe he might not see me again. We talked for hours, until almost 2 in the morning. They closed at 11. She just wanted to know everything about me, but her main thing was, am I happy? Were my parents good to me? Did I have a happy childhood? And I did. I told her thank you for helping to give me this life. We both cried again. She cried the most. Everything was emotional for her. Sometimes she would look really happy, but then get sad again. After my 18th birthday, she was hoping I would find her. That's why she stayed in the same city. But since I didn't, she always thought maybe I resented her, wasn't told that I had been adopted, or maybe had decided it was better not to have her around. It made me feel bad for not telling her sooner. She told me it's not my fault, and I did right going at my own pace. Honestly, she's so sweet. The way she kept looking at me with the biggest smile, it made me emotional sometimes. Makes you think, how can someone who's been a total stranger your whole life look at you with so much love? It's wild. We learned so much about each other. She asked me if we could have dinner soon to keep talking, and if at some point in the future, if I'm interested to come over to her house so I can meet her husband. That all sounded really great. We exchanged numbers. After I left, she sent me a text telling me thank you for giving her this gift that she didn't even know if it would ever come. My girlfriend came over and she hugged me while I cried. I wasn't sad, by the way. These were happy tears. Everything went better than I expected. There was still emotionally heavy stuff, but I'm still glad that we get to open up to each other. Update. Lots of you asked to let you know how it goes meeting my biological dad, and to say it was emotional is an understatement. I've been feeling so many things since this all happened. We met up a few days ago. Was originally supposed to be almost 2 weeks ago, but things kept coming up. Work, then I got sick for days, but we made it happen. To be honest, this was more nervous for me because I didn't know anything about him. With my biological mom, it was different because I watched her from far and got to know her a little before it came out. I asked my biological mom if she could be there too, just because she knows him better, so it was the two of us waiting for him at this park. He was already crying before we even got to him. This guy is strong too, so he pulled me in for the biggest bear hug and crying. He told me he wants me to know that they loved me so much and he loves me. I lost count how many times he'd come back in for one more hug. This definitely got to him, and he kept saying, "Thank you, God," a few times. Looking at my face, the feelings, man, the feelings. We had so many of them. Hearing him tell me how much they love me, even back then. It meant so much for me to hear that, and not gonna lie, that had me holding him tight too. I'm sure everyone at the park thought it was weird seeing 3 people crying together. My biological dad said he cried so many times just driving over here, he didn't think he had any more tears until he saw us. When we were all sitting down, it hit me that my biological mom was not lying when she said we look alike. Obviously he's older, but still, wow, the similarities. He brought gifts too, which was a surprise. It was really nice. He told me I don't have to keep them if I don't want it, but he felt weird not coming with anything, and he's wanted to give this to me for a long time. One was a teddy bear holding a picture frame of him at the hospital holding me. He was 15 years old. It's still crazy to realize that. And then the other thing was a journal. The journal was stuff he said he started writing to me years after I was adopted. He was in therapy, and that helped him to cope, thinking he would give them to me one day. His way of still feeling connected to me. I haven't read anything yet, but some of the pages were his thoughts, and like if he's talking to me. How he felt when they found out she was pregnant, then the adoption, everything going on in his mind when he first got to hold me as a baby. I didn't even know he was at the hospital too. It was not what I was expecting. It really got me. I read some more of what he wrote last night that really got me crying. I'm sad to think how much this affected them emotionally for years. Also, I think it's pretty sweet he wanted to write this for me. We talked about his own life, which was pretty hard, his struggles with home life, and the feelings he had about giving me up. Then he wanted to know everything about me, basically with the same questions my biological mom had. I made sure they knew they made the right decision, because my life was pretty great. He looked like he wanted to cry when he knew that, because that's all they had hoped for, and it was something he always wondered about for years. My biological mom left a bit after we were more comfortable so we could talk more in private, and so it didn't feel too awkward between us. From there, he told me stories about how he met my biological mom. Sometimes he'd point out stuff he had noticed about me that reminds him of her, or that we have similar likes. Example, I love eating mangoes. I can eat them all day, and that's what I bought when we bought snacks at the park. He told me my biological mom was obsessed with mangoes, even before she got pregnant, and while pregnant, she craved them even more. Just cool info to know, even if it's random stuff. It's still stuff we have in common, and we both have lots. We both like hiking, playing pool. He was a swimmer in college, and I was on a swim team in high school. We both love rock music, especially 90s. My biological dad was really open about sharing everything. Like he really was getting ready for this meeting. He hoped it would happen, and he prayed every day to see me again because he had so many things he wanted to tell me. Overall, really good first meeting. I'm glad it went well. He's open to the idea of meeting my parents. After I told them about all this, because they definitely want to meet my biological parents again if I'm comfortable with that. Obviously, if my biological parents are too. Let's see what happens. I don't know how it's gonna feel for me. They met each other before I was ever even born, but I never had them at the same place, so that'll be interesting. Me and my parents met up yesterday to have breakfast so I could tell them everything. My mom was so happy how it went. She actually cried too when I was telling them about both of their reactions. My dad was proud because he knew how hard it was the months after finding my biological mom and not really wanting to make contact yet. I'm really happy to have their support because it's hard not to feel guilty about wanting to know more about my biological parents. They gave me a really good life, so for a while it's felt like maybe to them I'm showing them that it wasn't good enough for me and I'd rather have my biological parents. But they told me many times that they want me to do this for me and they know how much I love them, and I really do. Finding them and meeting them was hard, but it was so worth it to me, and seeing their reactions made it feel even more worth it. Still can't believe it sometimes.
Is it just me or is somebody cutting onions in here? Oy.
Would I be the jerk for posting the damage my renter did to my property on Facebook? I, 37 female, rented out one of my houses to a single mother. I was kind and let her slide on not paying late fees or we would work out arrangements if she couldn't pay. Sadly, I had to finally give her a notice to vacate because of her allowing others to live there, the amount of animals and annoyances her kids were causing. Well, I inspected the house, and she has removed cabinets and took them with her. Holes in so many places, including the ceiling. Parts of the walls are missing. I'm just sick. She kept it all up until she had to move out. I have pictures of before, and for sure after. I'm also making a police report because the damages are well over $3,500. But would it be wrong to make a Facebook post calling her out since she's ignoring my messages and calls? I'd let everything be done and over with if she would just return my cabinets. One was built into the house. The work to remove it wasn't easy. So, would I be the jerk? Update. Police report made. I'll pick up my copy tomorrow. I'll be having someone come out and give me estimates on fixing everything. I've decided that renting just isn't for me, so I'm going to surprise my 3 kids with the properties. Each one, even as young adults, have done the rent struggle for a while now, and they're wanting to settle down. So they each get a house. Lucky, as I had 3 rental houses, I inherited them. The town is alight with rumors because the sheriff's office is never at my properties, and rumor mill is insane. I've decided to not be petty and not post it to Facebook. You're the jerk if you do that. Being a landlord is risky, which is why you should require a security deposit, and you can sue for damages that aren't covered. Lesson learned, I guess. But keep your dirty laundry off Facebook for several reasons. If I saw a post like that, my first thought would be, what side of the story aren't I hearing? And would think that you're a petty, vindictive person who, instead of handling her business the right way, tries to shame people. Take her to court, bring your evidence. A judge will hear from both of you and make a ruling. That's how it's supposed to work, not brigading. Everyone sucks here. In my country, it's illegal to share negative information about someone in public, no matter if it's facts. I see why you'd want to do this, but just let the police solve this. Don't lower yourself to her level. You're the jerk. You're a landlord with multiple homes, and you seriously expect me to feel bad for you? I'd love to hear her side of the story here. Something tells me that you're the one being difficult and trying to use this tenant to pay for damages that are most likely not even her fault. I'd trust a difficult tenant any day of the week before I would trust some scummy landlord that owns half the block. Sorry, not sorry. Not the jerk. Fellow landlord here. These things just happen sometimes. It's all part of the experience. I wouldn't post it on Facebook. That sounds like a way to bring more drama into your life. I personally would just have the repairs done, leave her alone, and write it off on my taxes. People like her, it's usually not worth it to even attempt to go the legal route. Am I the jerk for asking my husband's best man to wear a tuxedo? I, 26 female, am getting married to Mark, who's 28, a handsome, responsible, intelligent man with a kind heart and a great sense of humor. My sister Jennifer, who's 23, is going to be his best man. Jennifer is best friends with my husband Mark. He's known her for more than twice as long as he's known me. We only really met and talked at any length about 3 years or so ago. They were coworkers together at her high school job, and she's been a part of his gaming group since then. They went to the same college, and they're coworkers again now, working for his friend John's company. Mark was in college for the better part of a decade, getting 2 undergrad degrees and his PhD, and Jennifer ended up doing the same major as him, likely due to his encouragement. She's thinking about her master's in the same field, but they both work full-time now. In addition to being coworkers and playing Dungeons and Dragons together, they also game online, and they hang out all the time. They've gone to conventions together, either as part of a group or just the two of them. They do local classes and events together, and Mark helps Jennifer with her photography and editing. While she has a solid full-time job that she likes, Jennifer still has aspirations of being a model and influencer. She loves fashion, and she's also into cosplay. After we got engaged, we were at a family dinner, and I was talking to Mark about the wedding party, and I mentioned that even though I have 2 sisters, I wanted my own best friend, Helen, who's 26, to be my maid of honor. Mark said that was great because he actually wanted to ask Jennifer to be his best man. Jennifer immediately and enthusiastically agreed. Being a female best man is just the kind of thing that she'd love. Obviously, even if that meant she wouldn't be one of my bridesmaids. She also knew that between our other sister and some of my friends, I had too many people who needed to be bridesmaids, and Mark was worried about being short on groomsmen. This was all fine and well until later on when we were talking about what people were going to wear. I picked out my dream wedding dress and I coordinated the bridesmaid dresses, and Mark was going to have his groomsmen, most of which were other gaming buddies, in tuxedos. I had to talk him out of putting them in cosplay and Renaissance fair stuff. However, Jennifer was going to wear a dress. Jennifer is very tall and very attractive. The dress that she wants to wear was designed by one of her friends online, and while it's not white or anything, it's mostly red and black, and pretty well matches the other groomsmen, and it's formal and fancy. It definitely shows off her figure though. She would also, as best woman, stand out from the other men on the groom's side, especially in the heels she wanted to wear with the dress. After dropping a few hints here and there and broaching the subject of each side of the wedding party matching and women's tuxedos, I gently requested that Mark have Jennifer wear a tuxedo rather than the dress and shoes she wanted and he had previously liked. When they gave me pushback, I pointed out to Jennifer that she might distract people with such a flashy dress. Jennifer gave me a dirty look and said, half under her breath, "Are you serious?" And before I could react, she just said, "Fine, whatever, you're the bride. I'll wear the dang tuxedo." Mark sighed and half said some things about it being ridiculous. But then when I asked him what he said, he just went, "Okay, it's whatever, it's fine." Since then, Mark and Jennifer have been passive-aggressively making fun of my concerns. They pretty much just do this when I'm around. They seem to think it's hilarious. They've made it very well known that Jen is really disappointed about not getting to wear the dress and that her seamstress friend is upset about it too, and Mark has seemed a bit distant and disinterested in wedding planning. I was looking over some tuxedos for women and making some suggestions to Jennifer about ones that aren't too tight in the chest or hips, and she just showed me the one that she had already picked and said, "Is this fine, or did you want to further micromanage my specific tuxedo?" We started to get into a fight, and she accused me of being a bridezilla. When I told her she was being a bad sister, she said that she was the one who was being shamed and told what to wear. I told her my requests weren't shaming, and she said that they were. My parents completely took Jennifer's side and said that I should just let her wear the dress. Obviously, she showed it to them too, and they thought it was beautiful. They like her friend too, and her friend has done clothing and costumes for her before. My father said that I should at least stop bothering her about the tuxedo if I'm going to make her wear one, and that I should just let her go with the one she picked. The one she wants, though, is very high visual impact and is also very tailored. She said she can match it to the colors, but I feel like she'd still stand out. When I tried to get Mark to weigh in on this, he just said, "It's your wedding, do whatever you want. I guess I'll tell her to do whatever you want." And I obviously don't feel like he's very invested. I feel like he's not on the same page, but he just doesn't want to argue. He's always been like that. Even though we both have good jobs, both Jennifer and I still live at home with our parents because housing is ridiculous, and it's been awkward around each other. I've been staying over at Mark's a lot the last year, and I was supposed to be officially moving in, but he's been kind of cool and passive about it recently. Everyone seems to be acting like I'm the jerk here, even though Mark and Jennifer are the ones being passive-aggressive and unreasonable. I almost feel like I should have just made Jennifer a bridesmaid right off the bat, or told Mark that it didn't make sense for him to have a female groomsman. Am I the jerk for wanting my husband's best man to just wear a normal tuxedo? Update: there's not going to be a wedding. John, of all people, who's Mark's boss and gaming buddy, noticed my post, as it got way more attention than I ever expected. We've only ever met a couple of times and hardly ever talked before, but he reached out to me with, "This is John, call me." So I called him from the parking lot after work. John says he's been married for about 20 years, and he's tried to give Mark relationship advice. He doesn't think we're a good match. He told me that I should talk to Mark and that Mark has been very unhappy with our relationship and extremely unhappy with the wedding planning, even to the point that it's a running gag among him and his friends. I got into it a bit with John because, to be fair to me, Mark's ideas have been ridiculous. Just some of the things he asked for, and which John and Jennifer and his buddies thought would be cool. He wanted the wedding party to have custom swords and daggers and amulets. He wanted them to have the swords during the ceremony, and he thought people would like fantasy amulets. Mark has told me that John was willing to pay for the bridesmaids' dresses if we had them done by Jennifer's costume friend. I told him no, because I wanted normal, nice bridesmaids' dresses from someplace reputable, and that the bridesmaids could buy them themselves. John told me that he had offered this as a bit of a bet with Mark. Mark wanted to serve mead at the wedding. He said that his friend, John, could provide it, and that he made homemade mead in his basement and had tons of it. I obviously said no, because why would I want mead at my wedding? Never mind some guy's basement mead. John got a laugh out of this at the time, because he's a nerd who likes to laugh at his own jokes. Apparently, he's very proud of his basement mead, and they like to make toasts with it. Basement mead has apparently become a running gag in their games, as John insisted on telling me. Frankly, John seemed kind of tickled with himself just because he was speaking with me. Mark wanted the band at the wedding to play classical covers of video game and superhero music. Mark wanted the reception to have a jester who would wander around doing magic tricks and asking people riddles. Some lady that Mark and his friends know asked if she could be an elf at our wedding and wear her forest gown, and Mark said he had asked me, and he described it as some kind of green Greek toga dress with leaves and elven writing on it, and that she'd have elf ears. It's a wedding, not a costume party, so I don't even know why he would ask that. I mentioned this stuff to John, and he recognized all of it, and more on top of that, because Mark would always vent to them about the wedding plans, and John just agreed along, saying that I was constantly shooting down all of Mark's ideas. The point is that all of Mark's ideas were completely ridiculous, and that I wanted to have a wedding, not a Halloween party. John laughed when I brought this up to him and said that these ideas were awesome, and that I was just being too boring. John said that he thought we weren't a good match, and that he's told Mark that he needs to talk to me. I asked him if he thought Mark and Jennifer were a good match, and he just said yes. I asked if there had ever been anything between them, and he said no. He said he's 100% certain that they've never hooked up because Mark doesn't have the poker face for it. especially with as much as him and the other group members ribbed them over it. He said that Mark is too oblivious for his own good, and that the week after her 18th birthday, Jennifer said, pretty much straight to Mark, "We can hook up now," and Mark just laughed it off as a joke. It does sound like something she'd say because Jennifer does love making jokes like this. John thought that there was more to it though. They've had their characters date each other in games. Once at an event, Jennifer was supposed to kiss Mark, but instead she kissed the palm of her hand and then had him kiss her palm. John is fully confident that neither of them would cheat. I went over to Mark's house because he hadn't called or texted in a while, and he basically confirmed everything that John said. Mark said that I stressed him out when I was over, and he wasn't sure about me moving in because thinking about it gave him anxiety. He didn't like any of my ideas for our house. It was his childhood home, and he's resistant to changing anything. He just has his stuff everywhere and wherever. He kept trying to talk about giving me a room or some space when it's supposed to be our home, where all of the space belongs to both of us. He was extremely frustrated about the wedding planning, and he felt like he didn't have a say. He said the dress Jennifer wanted to wear was just about the final straw because I told him he could pick the outfits for the groomsmen, and I told him Jen could be in a dress as long as it matched. She really loves the dress, and she got it from her friend. She and John, and apparently all of his buddies, warned him that I'd find some way to have a problem with it. He says that I talk him in circles whenever he tries to choose or change anything, even though all of his suggestions are ridiculous. And he said he had just about given up caring by the time I complained about the dress, so he didn't bother fighting me about it. He said it upset him the way that I was shaming Jennifer. He thought I was being jealous and controlling, and that I had been a bridezilla ever since he proposed. When I asked him why he even proposed, if I apparently gave him anxiety and he doesn't even want me to move in with him, he said he felt like he was pressured to either propose or break up, and he hoped things would get better and that he didn't know if he had any good enough reason to break up with me. When I told him that I never pressured him to propose, he said that all of my friends and family know that I consider it a goal to get married before I'm 30, and he brought up a document on his phone where he had taken notes about what kind of proposal I wanted from all the times that I've talked about it. He said that he started the document because of how obviously important it was to me to have a perfect proposal and how often I talked about what I wanted. He proposed because he felt like he had to either marry me or dump me. I asked him if anything had happened between him and Jennifer, and he said no, and I believe him. I asked him why he wasn't dating Jennifer, and he said that at first he was seeing someone else, and then he was dating me. And he said that he values his friendship with her more than anything. He said that his friendship with Jennifer was worth not getting to be with her that way, and that she's too attractive to want to be with him. Apparently, the only reason Mark even started dating me is because he tried flirting with me at a family party we were at, and he said that I seemed into him. He doesn't think of himself as handsome, but he is, and he's got his PhD, a great job, and his own house at 28. He's definitely a catch. He didn't agree, and he said he's only ever dated his high school prom date, a girl who was kind of his girlfriend until she graduated and left, and me. Mark apologized and said that he wanted to put on hold any more wedding or moving plans, and that he wasn't sure about the relationship. I had already started crying, but then I broke down and he apologized again. He said he was sorry for messing up my plans and that he kept hoping things would get better. I left as soon as I felt like I could drive. By the time I got home, Mark had already texted Jen, "Your sister's crying, sorry," and the two of them had been on the phone the whole time. And of course, my mom knew and she tried to comfort me, but I could just tell that she wanted to say, "I told you so," because she had been warning me that I was going to drive Mark away, and she thought he was better with Jennifer too. Jennifer said that she tried really hard to have this work out because she just wants Mark to be happy, and that she had tried inviting me to gaming. And for Christmas before last, she brought me a Switch with games that Mark likes, and she was sorry that stuff happened this way. She accused me of not really liking or caring about Mark and just wanting a generic husband. When I told her that wasn't fair, she mentioned the same stuff from the wedding planning and a bunch of other stuff from our relationship that she said made Mark feel ignored or suffocated. She said that the only reason I liked him was because he ticked boxes and always gave in and let me have my way. We started arguing, but our mom stepped in before we could get into it too bad. I asked Jennifer about what this meant for her and Mark, and she said that he is absolutely her best friend and nothing is ever going to change that, and that she loves him. When I asked how she loves him, she just said that's not a discussion she wants to have right now. Our mom said everyone needed to cool off, and that was enough for Jen to step away and drop the subject. One of the commenters on my original post asked why I was marrying my sister's boyfriend, and my mom asked very nearly the same thing. She questioned how I had started dating Mark just about as soon as his age gap with Jennifer stopped being awkward, and she implied I shouldn't have been dating him in the first place. That's not fair at all. It's not like he's her property, and Jennifer can clearly just go get whatever man she wants. It's not like she had any kind of claim on him. Even while she was trying to comfort me and saying that things would be alright, my mom wouldn't stop implying that I was wrong for going after Mark in the first place or criticizing me for how the relationship went. She said that Mark wasn't the man for me, and I could tell that she meant he belonged with someone like Jennifer, as if I'm not good enough or what I want doesn't matter. And then I caught her talking to Jen about how things should be fine and how she should try to not be mad at me, as if I was the one who was in the wrong. Jennifer just kind of went on like normal and went ahead and went to go game with Mark and her friends the next day. I know they've been chatting online like normal. I gave Jennifer Mark's ring to give back to him, and then I had a missed call from him while I was in the shower and a text that said, "Okay, I guess we're broken up then. I'm sorry." I don't know if I messed this up or if everyone else were the jerks here. I feel like I'm definitely not going to be married by the time I'm 30. Am I the jerk for not letting my boyfriend drive my dad's Ferrari? My dad is wealthy. Not like mega rich billionaire wealthy, but pretty darn wealthy. My dad owns this Ferrari V12 supercar that he loves. He takes it out to drive a few times a month when he can, and usually he likes to take it to a local track. He's very protective of that car and doesn't want anyone driving it. He let me drive it once at his track, and I had like a race car driver instructor with me, but honestly, I'm kind of afraid of it. It's really powerful and just more car than I can handle. Anyways, I'm dating this dude and he saw my dad's car when he was over and he asked me if he could drive it. I told him he would have to ask my dad because it's not mine, but that I don't think he would let him because my dad doesn't really want anyone driving it. Anyways, he left it alone. He brought it up to my dad later, but my dad said no. My dad said he let me drive it once at a track with a race driver in the passenger seat and that he just doesn't trust anyone else to drive it. So my dad went out of town, and now my boyfriend is asking me to let him drive the car while my dad is gone. He keeps asking me where the keys are, and can he just please take it for a spin? And I keep telling him no, and it's making me uncomfortable that he keeps asking. Finally, he got mad at me and started calling me names, and said I should be supportive of him, that I should understand he doesn't have a rich family and will probably never have this opportunity again, and that if I loved him, I would do this for him. I don't know. I get that he doesn't really have another opportunity to drive this car, but like, it's just a car, and my dad would be really upset if I let him. Am I the jerk? I believe I might be the jerk because my boyfriend can't afford a car like this on his own, and I feel bad that I'm denying him the opportunity to drive one, which is something he really wants, and I'm denying him his dream. Not the jerk. Do not let him drive that car. It's not worth violating your dad's trust over some dude, and let me assure you, he is just some dude. I grew up poor, and on behalf of all poor people, he does not have a right to someone else's possessions. Imagine if you gave him the keys and something goes wrong. Imagine how your father would look at you as a person. Is this clearly selfish dude worth the relationship with your dad? Don't let this idiot gaslight you. Break up with him. OP. He keeps telling me that if I love him, I'll let him drive it. Edit. A lot of people are calling this a red flag, and honestly, I never really thought it was that bad. I just thought that guys like him always want to drive fast cars. Like, it really didn't register to me that he was being manipulative. Edit 2. I did take the keys and put them in my dad's safe about 30 minutes after this post went up. A lot of people have mentioned he doesn't see a long-term relationship with me because he said, "This is the only chance I'll get." I honestly didn't register that, but yeah, it's got me thinking. Good news and bad news. Good news, I heard your message loud and clear, and today he really showed me who he is. Bad news, I have more crap to deal with from him. We are over after this. Update 5 months later. Okay, so it seemed a lot of people had things to say about the original thread, so I figured you all would want a conclusion. Some background on our relationship. First off, I paid for everything all the time. Anytime we went out on a date, I footed the bill. I didn't think much of it because I have so much and he doesn't, so I thought it was pretty natural and just being a good girlfriend to pay the bill. I drove him around everywhere. If he wanted something, he would often guilt me into buying it for him. Sometimes this was things like $200 Jordans. I got him a new Samsung Galaxy phone for Christmas. He never got me anything, not once. Not even a handmade gift or a small thoughtful gift. Not even a flower that he picked. It didn't need to be elaborate or expensive, but he didn't even get me something to show me he was thinking of me. I don't want to try and measure a relationship based off material things, so I let that go. He would often tease me and make fun of me for being such a spoiled rich daddy's girl and for going to an expensive, exclusive private school. He made fun of me because my dad bought me a Mercedes but he never had a problem with me driving him around in it. He would make fun of me for taking school seriously, for maintaining a 4.0, for turning down parties or other things because I had papers to write or tests to study for. He would often tell me I didn't know what the real world was like because I grew up in a wealthy neighborhood around wealthy people, and I didn't know what the world was really like. I honestly kind of felt like he was right about that. I did grow up a lot more sheltered than average people and with a lot more. Most people don't get Mercedes for their 16th birthdays or ski trips to the Alps or summer trips to St. Bart's. I know that's not normal. I honestly don't really know what normal is. So I took his word that I had a sheltered life and he knew better about the real world. He introduced me to his friends as his hot rich girlfriend, which I assumed was supposed to be a compliment. He never said these things in a way that seemed overtly insulting. He always said it as a joke with a smile. So I trusted that he cared about me and that this was all just differences in our upbringing. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I was probably naive. The night of my first post, I got a text from my ex about throwing a party at my house while my dad was gone. I said no. I've been to high school parties and I know what happens, and I don't want my house to be trashed. So I tell him this, and he gave me a line that he often used about me needing to have more fun. I told him I didn't think cleaning up my dad's wrecked house sounded like a lot of fun. He left it alone, or so I thought. I had been talking to some people on Reddit chat about putting together a plan to break up with him, but this next part forced my hand. The next day I was in school, and one of my best friends came up to me, and she was sorta mad and wanted to know why I didn't tell her about the party. I was surprised. I told her there was no party, and I wanted to know where she heard that from, but I knew where it ultimately came from. She told me that she had heard from her friend that went to my ex's school, and that everyone there was talking about it, and it had spread to this school. I knew it was him, so I called him. He admitted that he had told everyone I was having a huge party, and he even started telling everyone this when he was at school the previous day, before he'd even asked me about it. I was livid. I told him he had no right to just invite the entire school to my house without even asking me first. We got into a big fight about it. Then he told me what he really thought of me. Not gonna lie, I was really devastated to hear this. He called me boring and basic, spoiled and entitled, and now he wasn't joking. He said I had a chip on my shoulder and needed to learn how to lighten up and have fun. He said I was a daddy's girl and cared more about grades and impressing my father than anything. He accused me of being Olivia Jade and having my dad buy my way into college. That one really stung because I worked really hard through high school to get accepted into a good university. And it was also just like, what? Because here he is making fun of me for working too hard in school and at the same time saying I didn't earn my spot. So which one is it? Anyways, we fought and he said a bunch of mean things. Finally, I told him if I was so boring, he could find a new and exciting girlfriend to drive him around and pay for everything because I was done. I wish it ended there, but I still had this party rumor that was now flying around at least 2 schools. I didn't want to call my dad about this. I wanted to take care of this on my own, take care of him on my own. I didn't want to admit to my dad that I made a really poor choice in dating him. I didn't want to have my dad bail me out. I wanted to show I was mature and grown up enough to fix this on my own, but I just didn't know how to stop all these people from showing up. So I swallowed my pride and called my dad after school and I told him everything. I tried not to cry, but I did. My dad was mad, but he wasn't mad at me. He did thank me for telling him and reassured me that I had done the right thing. My dad made a call to a friend of his at the sheriff's office. This part I feel some kind of way about because I know how people feel about the police right now, and I know that this is something that really shows off my privilege. I doubt this would have happened for many other people, but the sheriffs told him they'd post a deputy on our block over the weekend. My dad also sent a pair of bodyguards for me for the weekend to make sure no one tried to break in. He said I was allowed to have a few friends over this weekend, but keep it clean, no parties of course, and no mess, you know, standard parent stuff. That week, a few of my close friends stayed with me after school while I cried about all of this, and they helped me spread the word that there was no party. Friday came along, and a few of my friends came back home with me after school. We decided we'd do an 80s movie night like I mentioned before. We closed the gate, put up a sign that said there was no party. Private security showed up like my dad said, and we bunkered down for the night and watched a bunch of 80s movies. There were a few people that did show up, but they were chased off by the locked gate and the deputy hanging out on the block. I think we were able to dissuade most of them from showing up. I don't know how many because I just stayed inside with my girls watching movies and tried to ignore anything happening outside.
Excuse me, why is there an automatic 18% gratuity for parties of 6 or more? Because large parties are an extra burden to bear. Because if one person's section is bogarted by a large party, their night is sink or swim based on your charity. Because the number one reason service staff will have a breakdown or spontaneously quit their job is getting done over on a large bill. Automatic gratuity is there to protect the staff and the business. Cue this one high-maintenance sort and his family of 12. Despite their best efforts to run me ragged, everything went super smooth and genial. Then came the bill. Excuse me, but why is there an 18% gratuity? I'd like to write in my own tip. And you can. There's a line below where you can add whatever you'd like on top of the gratuity, and it's much appreciated. No. I'm talking about the principal. I always tip above 20%. Big, moment. But having it forced on the customer feels unfair. Me, playing coy. Well, if you wanted to tip above 20%, you can just add the 2% or whatever on the tip line underneath. It's the principal. I just thanked him and walked away. He sat there stewing for 15 minutes while his family was polishing off desserts and gathering their things to leave. A situation best ignored until they leave. And sure enough, he had signed the bill. No extra tip. Shocked Pikachu face. But managed to write out an entire novel on the front and back of his bill, addressed to the owner, detailing why automatic gratuities are the worst thing ever and how much more he would have tipped if it wasn't an imposition. Basically could have just written underneath, "Too long didn't read, I'm a cheap jerk." One of my first service jobs was at a corporate place where the gratuity was conditional on large parties, and at best, you could only ask the party for permission to apply it. Most said sure, fine, but of course. So one night, my entire section is cordoned off for a large party of 20, mostly teenagers, and they did that obnoxious crap like ordering steaks well done, eating half of it, then complaining they want a new one, or asking for extra drinks when I was explicit about no free refills, but still complaining when the bill came, etc. I was gutted because I knew what was coming with the $400 bill. Hey, you guys cool if we add a gratuity? What's that? It's an 18% tip added to the bill to ensure staff, nah, it's cool, we got you. Long sigh and head down in shame. They left me $15. My tip out on the party was $20, and I would never do over the rest of the staff, so I took a net loss of $5 for the night. I was shaking and ready to quit. Managers were all, "Bummer, but it's like that. See you tomorrow." I worked the slow lunch shift the next morning, and as soon as the rush was starting to hit, the general manager comes up to me. "Hey, I'm gonna cut you and send you on break for a couple of hours. I'm gonna need you to come back in tonight." I was so checked out. "No, I'm not scheduled and already have plans. Sorry." His eyes got big. The next morning, I tried clocking in, and the point of sale didn't recognize my number. GM had decided to can me on some trumped-up BS, but it was clearly because I had been insubordinate. Good riddance. Well, how about when you go out to eat? How much of a tip do you usually leave? Please let us know. Reddit boy and I usually leave 20%, unless it's very poor service. Then we speak to the manager. My house, my rules. Okay. So a few years ago, my dad was moving out of his house and in with his parents due to some health problems with my grandma. This was over summer break, and I was just out of high school at the time, about to go into college, so I had absolutely nothing to do all summer as I waited to move out of state. My dad never was, and still isn't, super organized, whereas I alphabetized my own bookshelf with a full system, type A, about keeping things in order. Call me weird, but I really enjoy reorganizing things and cleaning. It just hits that button for me. So being that he had about 2 months until he closed on the house, I just start to pack up some of the house for him. Basement was a disaster, and I had wanted to tear it up for years. So within the first day, I had made a significant dent in the basement, which ended up being a very involved process. I didn't realize when we had moved in that a lot of the stuff from our old house was still packed haphazardly because my brother and I were too young to really help. So I went through the process of unpacking the still packed boxes from house 1, labeling the boxes the way I wanted to, and then repacking those boxes appropriately. After about 3 days of this, I get about 50% done, including cleaning and packing my room and some of the garage. Here's the build-up to the malicious compliance. My dad comes down to help me, all good with me. I start explaining where things go, and my dad wants to change it. I resist, explaining that I already have the system and that I have been doing the bulk of the packaging, so he should probably just go with me on this one, which is when he hits me with the namesake of this post. So I relent because I know what will happen. Anyone that's really type A will agree with me that the only thing more frustrating than things being chaotic and out of order is things that are slightly out of order, which is what I knew would happen. Regardless of the fight Dad and I had, he ended up almost following the system. Mostly things that belong in the labeled boxes went where they were supposed to, except for a few very important odds and ends that got put, well, not where they were supposed to. I noticed this, but because of my house, my rules, clearly he has a plan, so I don't say anything. I knew the payoff was going to be a slow burn, and it came several months later when I was in school across the country and unable to help. Dad calls me one day very flustered because he can't find something he needed. He had been in the storage unit he rented in my hometown for the better part of 3 hours looking. Now, the storage unit got packed horribly by the moving crew. I've been in there a few times after this story, and I feared for my safety. It's a legitimate labyrinth/jungle gym and a nightmare to get through. Not to mention, this was midsummer and there was no AC. So Dad is mad on the phone asking me where it is, and I ask him if it's in the box I labeled in big red Sharpie, important stuff. He says no, and I smile a bit. Then he says, well, you were in charge of packing all of this stuff, and now I can't find it. That's when I calmly reminded him of the blowout fight we had over this exact issue and how he commandeered my operation afterwards. I told him that if I was actually in charge, it would be in the box labeled important stuff. He hung up on me after that. I love my dad, and I had no problem helping him out. We laugh about it today, but I can't say I didn't get a good chuckle at the thought of him sweating and climbing around in that storage unit. He recently found another place to live now that my grandparents have more in-home assistance, and I've already worked out that I'm gonna come help him move. We already agreed I'm in charge this time. How do you like your house to be? Organized or messy? Please let us know. Oh, I can't stand messes. Don't you see how neat and tidy our bookshelves are? Am I the jerk for not letting my mother identify as a grandmother to my kid on social media? There's a lot of background to this, but the short version is that I, then 17, now 27 female, got pregnant as a teenager, stayed with the baby daddy, had another kid with him, then he dumped me. Mom, then 39, now 49, said some really horrible things and refused to act as a grandma to my two kids, ages 7 and 9. I'm now married to someone else, and we had a baby back in January. Now that I've had a child in wedlock, Mom wants to be a grandma. Can't find a place to slip this in organically, but my husband also had a child from before the marriage, a 4-year-old, who Mom treats the same as my older kids. I didn't even tell her when I had my newborn, and she found out along with everyone else when I announced the birth on social media a couple of weeks ago. The actual birth occurred a few months ago. We held off on announcing until last month. When we announced on Facebook, this was also when Mom learned that the baby had been born. I already told Dad and Stepmom personally. This caused a fight between us, and I blocked her for a bit. I've unblocked her a few days ago, gone on her profile, and literally the top 10 posts are just about being a grandma. I then made a few passive-aggressive comments on her posts about how she's been a grandma for almost a decade now, and she's never met my newborn. A few hours later, I saw my comments had been deleted, so I posted on my page that I was incredibly grateful to my baby's grandparents, my dad, my stepmom, and my husband's parents for all of the love and support that they had shown me, my husband, my kids, and this baby, and how grateful I was for family. A few people were like, OP, you forgot your mom, and I just responded that everyone who should have been mentioned is mentioned already. Mom has called me and yelled and cried over the phone, saying I'm a horrible daughter and making her feel and look like a bad mother/grandmother, and I need to take that post down. I refused. This has caused a schism with several people thinking I shouldn't have aired our dirty laundry in public, and that my mom's posts do nothing to affect me while my post was designed to hurt Mom, so I should take my post down, while the other camp think that she deserved it, and I nearly corrected public record. Info: she only wants to be grandma to the baby. The older kids, 7, 9, and stepkid 4, are not allowed to call her grandma because it makes her feel old. Am I the jerk? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her mom? Please let us know. When is grandma's birthday? Maybe we can get her a heart. French Karen upset I speak English in England. I work at a company that has over 300 sites globally. I work in the only plant in the UK. We have 22 people who work here. I was asked to join a call with our other European sites as I also speak German fluently and can understand and speak Italian to a level about the industry I work in. So we have this call and we have English, me, Greek, Turkish, Romanian, Italian, German, Spanish, and French on the meeting. Everyone at the other plants has management and can all speak English. Italian and German is broken English, hence why it's easier for me to be on it and translate if they struggle understanding anything in English. So we go about the meeting and German starts talking to me in German. I'm translating and it's all going well, and we all know each other well as we've regularly visited each other's plants. Apart from France, they have a new woman, Karen, who keeps trying to be the center of attention. She's been speaking fluent English all through the call so far. I'm translating the German and Italian. It's all going well. Until Karen starts speaking French. I told her I didn't know French. It's already confusing enough with 3 languages. The conversation goes as follows. Karen, what do you mean? You're the translator. Me, no, I'm a chemist. I know German fluently and Italian to a level. It's relevant to this call. Karen, well, why are you making me speak a second language but learning everyone else's? Me, I'm doing the company a favor. Otherwise, they would have to get a translator. Oh, I get it. It's because I'm new and I'm a woman. Me, I'm also a woman. No, I just never learned French. Oh, so it's a personal thing now? Me, you speak English. You don't need it to be translated or it to be all about you. Karen hung up. Next day reported me to HR for bullying. I don't think she realized that the call was recorded, so I sent a copy to HR. Unfortunately, at my company, you have a 6-month probation. This happened at 3 months of her being here, and throwing out stupid accusations like this means you're probably not going to make it. Am I the jerk for calling my mother-in-law toxic after she ruined my birthday unintentionally? For context here, I, male 28, and my husband, male 30, have been married for 3 years and we've been friends for even longer. When I was 18, so I know his mother very well by now. She's a bubbly person and enjoys being the life of the party. I always thought well of her, and she was supportive of our friendship and there for me through a rough patch. My parents aren't the best people in the world, long story short. However, things got strained when we entered a relationship in our early 20s. My husband is her only child. She had him young, and his father was out of the picture before his birth. So it really had just been them for most of his life, really. I think she suddenly felt like she was losing him when we announced we were together, and later on that we were moving away from the small city we grew up in. Even though I've always made the effort to get along with her and encourage him to spend time with her, because sometimes he's reluctant. Anyway, I've noticed a pattern of behavior that has progressively gotten worse, especially since we got married and during the wedding process. Passive-aggressive behavior against me for the smallest things. I didn't know his coffee order once, and she joked that if I didn't know him well as her, why was I with him? Like, what? And one big example, she made a crude speech at our wedding, one implying I had cheated on my husband. I have several close male friends, but that's all that's going on there. Though she brushed it off as a joke at the time. You get the gist. I always try to ignore it, and my husband doesn't seem to want to confront it either. Because of lockdown, I had a low-key birthday, just a very small gathering with drinks in the back garden. However, that day she complained repeatedly through text that she wasn't feeling well, but insisted it wasn't lockdown related and described her symptoms in detail, stating she felt it was anxiety related and that she had to come to the party. Living alone is making her stir crazy, which I get. So after the cake, I was talking with my husband and my mother-in-law just faints. It was awful. The whole party stopped, but it was odd. She woke up really quickly and seemed fine. But after that, she wouldn't let my husband leave her side, but refused help. I got frustrated because why did she have to come if she felt unwell? I made one comment about her maybe staying home next time, and she went off, saying that my tone was off and I'm trying to isolate her further during a lockdown. I said, no, you're now putting words in my mouth and you're toxic. It just burst out. I tried apologizing. My husband just stood there and said that maybe we both needed to calm down and enjoy the party. But my mother-in-law says she should go home if I didn't want her there anyway, and did exactly that. Things have been tense since. She's texting him a lot, but I've ignored her. I needed to collect my thoughts. Was I the jerk for lashing out at her? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or mother-in-law? Please let us know. Definitely mother-in-law, as usual. She told me to do exactly what she says, and I did. I'm a secretary for a medical facility that funds other medical institutions. I'm also responsible for their travel to conventions and conferences. There is a very large and very highly attended conference held each year in which our medical professional staff are invited as presenters. One such Karen-esque presenter just had to be incredibly difficult, as she feels she is above us and never lets us forget it. As a presenter, they are given certain hotels that are reserved for them at a reduced rate. However, most are nowhere near the convention site, and they end up paying a crap load of money for cabs. No Uber at the time. I set up the travel for at least 10 folks when I realized that by a loophole, I can book them into the hotel where the conference is held. So I do that instead of allowing the conference coordinators to book them in heaven knows where at the last minute, which they are prone to do. Karen comes up to me and demands that I only book her into the hotels listed by the conference coordinators, and if I don't, she will have me written up. So that's what I did. The day before they all leave for the conference, which was clean across the country on the West Coast, Karen found out she was not only the only one not booked in the conference hotel, but she was 9 miles away near the airport. And no, there were no more rooms available at the conference hotel. She was hopping mad and stormed to my desk screaming about me putting her in a faraway 2-star hotel. I looked at her and calmly stated that she was in one of the 3 hotels the conference coordinators reserved for her, and she distinctively instructed me to only select those hotels and nothing else. She ended up spending more than $70 in cab fare to and from the hotel to the venue, while everyone else only had to go downstairs from their hotel rooms. She almost missed giving her presentation because she was late. After that, when I booked everyone for a trip, Karen no longer demanded I give her special treatment and lets me use my judgment when booking hotels. Am I the jerk for suggesting my wife take our kids strawberry picking when she's allergic to strawberries? My kids are craving to go strawberry picking at a local produce farm. I was going to try and take them, but I'm an ICU nurse and I work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and on weekends, so I'm tired and I can hardly move. I've been trying to get my wife to take them, but she refuses because she's allergic. The thing about her allergy is it only takes effect if she actually eats a strawberry. She can hold strawberries, she can breathe in their scent, she can touch them, and she doesn't suffer anaphylaxis, she just gets a rash that goes away with Benadryl within 1 day. So she refused to take them for that reason. The thing is, the kids are cooped up all day long. They're doing online homeschool from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. and after their school day is over, they can either play in the house or in the yard because my wife won't take them anywhere. My wife is an extreme introvert and homebody, and her idea of a great day is sitting on our covered porch with a book or a sketch pad and a cup of coffee. My wife can easily spend an entire day in the same spot on the porch. She hates bugs, she hates dirt, she hates plants. When I take the kids on our annual hike and camp trip over the summer, she refuses to go. The kids always miss her and wish she'd go with us to share the experience. So I'm at work right now, and my son called me and asked if we were going to go strawberry picking this weekend. Unfortunately, I'm going to be stuck all weekend at the hospital because we've got 2 nurses out sick and someone needs to be there to take care of people, and I'm a head nurse, so I need to be there. I told him to put Mom on the phone, and I tried to convince her to take them today. It's a gorgeous day. She said she was just sitting with a book and some Netflix, and the kids were playing a board game. I asked her why she couldn't take them. She said she didn't want to be around the berries in case she gets a rash. I told her there were plenty of Benadryl in the house, and we have latex surgical gloves in our bathroom first aid kit that she could wear, and she doesn't even have to touch the berries if she doesn't want to. But come on and just take the kids. They're bored and unhappy. She told me I was being a jerk and trying to get her hurt, and if I cared about her at all, I wouldn't try to get her to do this. She hung up on me and hasn't returned my calls. I'm taking a 5-minute bathroom break to create an account here and post this to get some opinions. Am I the jerk? Edit. I should add that I have an extreme allergy to dogs, where I actually do suffer mild anaphylaxis, and we still have a dog. My wife wanted a dog, and she told me that I could just use an EpiPen if I have a reaction to PD. Edit. Someone suggested I edit one of my comments into the post. My wife cooks with strawberries and buys strawberries from the grocery store because our kids adore strawberries. Our kids love strawberry shortcake and strawberry cheesecake, and she makes those for them all the time. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. I'm really craving some strawberries now. I was just fired for the second time after quitting years ago. Long story short, in 2014, I was working at a pizza chain in a rural Utah farming town. I won't say which one, but they're a national chain known for being very greasy. At the beginning of July, I gave a 2-week notice to my manager that I'd be leaving to move out of state to be closer to family and a better job market. I finished out my time as promised, moved, found a new, better gig, and that was that. Of course, you read the title, so you'll know that that wasn't really all. In summer of 2015, I received a call from a new store manager. He informed me that he's been putting me on schedule and it was unacceptable that I wasn't even coming in to look. If I didn't show up today, he would have no choice but to fire me. I asked, did the old manager not take me out of the system after I quit last year? He grumbled and made some snarky complaint that if I had quit a year ago, I wouldn't be in his scheduling program. I let him know I live in a completely different state, am working a completely different job, and would not be showing up for any shifts he scheduled me for. He threatened to fire me again, and I reiterated, hey, I don't actually work for you, so do what you gotta. He hung up, and that was the last I heard of it. Until we fast forward to yesterday. I received a letter from the corporate office informing me that, per their records, I haven't shown up to work since July of 2014, and unfortunately, they were going to have to terminate me. I still almost can't stop laughing, especially since, they sent the letter to the address I gave them when I quit. Am I the jerk for not being honest about liking my birthday gift? So my birthday was 2 weeks ago. One of my good friends, E, got me a gift that was completely not my taste. It was a really weird-looking sundress from a brand I never buy from, and a style I would never wear. I typically dress in a more androgynous/tomboy style. I was kind of surprised because she normally gives amazing gifts and has gotten me cool stuff in the past. But because she's one of my closest friends, I didn't want to hurt her feelings. She included the receipt anyways, so I figured I'd maybe exchange it, although the brand is not what I'd normally buy from. Anyway, I thanked her when she gave it to me, feigned some joy as I opened it, and took it home with me. In my head, I was just happy to have gotten a gift. It wasn't my style, but it was still thoughtful of her to get me a present. I chalked it up to her maybe pushing me to try something new and moved on with my life. Today, we were supposed to get lunch, so I thought I'd wear the dress to meet up with her. When I showed up, she seemed really shocked and angry, and we had a pretty tense, awkward meal together. Later, I got a long, angry text from her talking about how disappointed she was. Apparently, the whole thing was a prank. She purposefully got me a dress that I would never buy myself, that she knew I wouldn't be caught dead in, to see if I'd be a good friend and tell her the truth. She had seen some dumb video on social media about giving people bad gifts on purpose to see if they're honest or not. E wanted/expected me to open her gift and gently tell her it wasn't what I really wanted and thus pass her test. Apparently, she was planning on giving me my real gift, a vinyl of this band I really like, after I told her I didn't like the fake one. But since I lied, I didn't deserve it. I'm really taken aback. Like, what the heck? Who does that? She called me a jerk for lying to her face about loving it, and I just haven't replied to her since. I genuinely don't know what to say. This situation is just out of pocket. This is really unusual behavior for her, or anyone I'm friends with, and I really don't know what to think. Am I the jerk? Is this normal? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or their friend? Please let us know. And this is why TikTok challenges must be stopped. It wasn't Karen, it was me. Just a little background. I conked my head pretty hard on an F-18 fighter jet back in the Navy. I currently have some mild memory problems and kind of go into phases where I'm awake, but I can't really tell what I'm doing. It's an odd sensation when I'm tired or didn't eat well. I just go into this phase where I'm physically competent. I could juggle knives and tightrope, but not tell you how many fingers you're holding up or repeat your name when you tell me to my face. All this being said, it wasn't nearly that bad, which makes me feel terrible. You see, I'm 6 foot 7 inches tall. I wear my hair very short, so the massive jagged scar on my head is very visible. Until people hear me talk, they usually shuffle away from me and hold their purses, kids, or whatever closer and try to stand near someone else. It's a little offensive, but I can't blame them. Books and covers and all, but I do look like a bad guy. Now, this story is simple. I was running out of food in my fridge, and I just got off a 12-hour shift. I didn't need much. It might sound gross, but a super easy fast food is hummus and hot dogs. If you get the higher quality hot dogs, slather on some hummus and a line of mustard. It's great, but still clearly bachelor food. So I go to this place that sells bulk food, mostly for mom and pop restaurants or big church events, that kind of stuff. I go there because you can get these great hot dog buns, $3 for a 24 pack. Then you get like half a gallon of really good hummus for $15. It's great, but I almost instantly made a horrible mistake. I came in, and just 20 feet in and to my left is the bread and the buns. I come in and notice a woman. It's been a long day and I'm very hungry, so I only vaguely notice she's wearing mild business attire, just like the employees, and some sort of blue apron, just like the employees. And to top it all off, she's in front of the hot dog buns, shuffling buns off of her cart and onto the shelf. I walk up and grab the last bag of hot dog buns on her cart and loudly, playfully announce, "Yoink!" She turns around and stares at me as if I just stole her purse. Something triggers inside me, and I know something's wrong. I'm still trying to keep up my happy tone, despite how tired I am, and it takes me a full 5 seconds of this poor woman staring at me, worried and almost shivering when I finally notice. Her cart has eggs, milk, frozen items, energy drinks, and a few other various items in smaller amounts, and her purse is on the cart, and the apron is actually a blue stripe on her shirt. I nearly break down apologizing, carefully placing her hot dog buns on the cart and keep apologizing. Thankfully, she either was nice or realized how upset I had made myself with this mistake and finally has to all but grab either side of my face and say it was fine right into my eyes. I still felt horrible. I'm huge and I have to be so darn careful not to hurt people just going about my daily life. And I hate scaring innocent people. I can be mean when I need to, but I really hate being the bad guy. I got my buns and my hummus, still looking down and barely even paying attention to the world around me, letting the embarrassment and pain grind away at me when all of a sudden I hear a playful voice say, "Yoink!" And suddenly my hummus is gone. I look over to see the woman smiling and laughing before she hands it back and tells me, "Don't tear yourself up. It was an honest mistake and you handled it really well." I still tear myself up about it, but it was a big step in the path of feeling better. Got screamed at today by Karen over an avocado. I'm full of bitter fury, so if you're a vindictive person, you may enjoy this. Little backstory. I work for a gourmet burger place. Everyone who works during this has seen the inner jerkness of the general public grow and grow. We've been slammed and understaffed because 3/4 of our staff decided to quit when this all went down, and every 10 minutes our phone rings with some dumb jerk asking, "Are you guys open? What time do you close tonight? Can I order?" Random thing not currently offered. First of all, Google answers every question you ask. Just Google the restaurant. Our menu is on the website. Our website is on Google. So anyways, after having the phone ring with the same crap every 5 to 10 minutes at least, and often having 3 or 4 calls come in at the exact same time, my phone customer service voice is slipping. I'm not rude, but I don't have the patience anymore to be all chipper and peppy over the phone. Today I get a call from a guest. Let's call her Jerk. So Jerk calls and asks to order. I politely direct Jerk to the online ordering platform because it will let you know what our new menu is, and we've been very busy, so it will help us get your order out more quickly. Jerk says she can't put blue cheese on her burger. I tell Jerk, "I'm sorry ma'am, we don't have blue cheese right now. Anything you can't find online, we don't have." Jerk says, "Well, I wanted guacamole on my burger, but that button isn't there either." Quick separate thought. Guacamole and avocado are 2 different things. I've worked as a server for years. You give somebody avocado when they ask for guacamole, and a crappy person will not hesitate to mess up your day with their poor social etiquette. So anyways, I begin to say to Jerk, "We actually don't sell guacamole, ma'am. We did for a while, but only for 1 month as a special, but we do not have avocado." I only get as far as ma'am. So she cuts me off and says, "I've seen burgers with guacamole or avocado or whatever that stuff is called." So I responded to her, completely ignoring that I was interrupted because what else is new? "Oh, avocado. Yes, ma'am, we do have that. If you don't see that online, it's an issue. I'm so sorry. I'll go ahead and take your order." Once again, cutting me off, she says, "Why would you split hairs between avocado and guacamole? Are you stupid?" I respond, Well, guacamole and avocado aren't technically the same thing. And third interruption in a row. This jerk screams at the top of her lungs through the phone. Don't you be a jerk to me. I say for the first time, not trying to hide my irritation, don't yell at me. I've done nothing to deserve that. She yells some more about how they're the same thing. I explain. If you asked for guacamole and I gave you avocado and you were upset by it, it could cause me to get an unnecessary, uncomfortable situation. And then, showing her truly undeniable stupidity and lack of self-awareness, she retorts, What are you talking about? Who would get upset with someone over avocado? At this point, my voice is flat and clearly upset, but I'm still not being snarky or rude, just abrupt. I retort, People yell at food service workers about all kinds of things. Karen says, Clearly you've had a hard day. I respond, It was fine until a minute ago. What can I get you? The rest of her ordering process, she's very quiet and much more respectful. I hope I broke her. I hope that realizing how mean she was, she broke down crying. I hope her husband leaves her and her kids don't call. Just to be clear, I don't actually have a legitimate problem with people calling and asking what time we close or if we're open. I know times are crazy. It just gets kind of annoying due to how often it happens, but I just wanted to get my frustrations off my chest. Karen mother demands the password to see my grades. Little bit of backstory. The story revolves around me, 17 female, and my mom, 36 female, who I will call Entitled Mom. Entitled Mom and my dad went their separate ways when I was very little. They weren't married, and I went to live with my grandparents on my dad's side. Entitled Mom would sometimes spend a few days with us and then go who knows where. Around 2 years ago, she left and didn't come back. I see her maybe once a month. In my country, we have a website that shows your grades, exams, and stuff like that. You have your email and a password. I never gave Entitled Mom my password because she never asked for it, and I didn't think that she'd even need to see my grades. No one except me has my password. So I was doing my homework, and I got a call from Entitled Mom. That's rare, so I picked it up. This is approximately the conversation. Entitled Mom. Hey, OP, how are you? Me. Good, how about you? A little bit tired, but fine. Me. Good to hear. Do you need anything? Entitled Mom. Well, I just wanted to know how you are and ask you to give me your password to your grades. Me. What? Why? I lost the password I had, so can you give it to me again? Me. What are you talking about? Why do you even have my password? Well, you typed it in on my phone once years ago and it stayed there. I changed my phone, so I need you to give it to me again. Me. No, you will not have my password. That's my personal information, and I don't feel comfortable by you looking at my grades and exams. Oh, come on. It's just grades. And besides, I am your mom. I have the right to see your grades. It's not that big of a deal. Me. It is. You can't look at my grades. It's my personal information, and I don't want you anywhere near it. And besides, you aren't really a good mom to begin with. Oh, are we going there now? Well, you shouldn't complain that much. After all, I lived the life you wanted to have. A life I wanted? Are you nuts? I can't believe you would say that to a minor. Do you hear yourself? Are you crazy? Why are you yelling? If it's about your grades, me, this is not about my grades. This is about my private information that you have no right to. You are a bad parent, and I'm so ashamed to be related to you. I'm going to change the password, and goodbye. I stopped the call then, and I changed the password right away. This type of conversation is not unusual for her, but she really made me mad. That's all. I just wanted to share my story. My Karen sister complained about my neighbors, so I kicked her out. I, 31 male, have lived at the same home for 2 years, and I'm very friendly with my neighbors. They're nice people, married couple in their late 40s with a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old. Every weekend since I've lived there, they like to have a small get-together with their family. Not a big party, but they do grill out on their porch, play music, and chat. It's never more than 10 people. Honestly, it's never bothered me. Music is always off by 10 p.m. and they don't get rowdy. My family isn't close like that, so it actually feels nice they do it every weekend, and sometimes they've invited me over for a burger. Like I say, nice people. My sister, 27 female, is having problems with her boyfriend, and she doesn't want to stay at their place right now, so here she is. The past month, she complained about my neighbors and how annoying they are. She doesn't know how I stand it, and I should tell them something. But I've literally got no problem with it, and I told her that they're not doing anything wrong. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I was approached by the husband, and he apologized for being so rude. Had no idea what he was talking about. He said my wife complained to him about their loud music the other weekend, and me and her both have gotten extremely annoyed by it. She threatened to call the police if they kept this up because they are disturbing the peace. I was pretty red from both anger and embarrassment, so I explained to him that I have no problems with that and she's my sister, not my wife. Apparently, she said that so they'd take her more seriously as the owner of the house. My sister refused to apologize and said she absolutely would call the police because they need to learn not to be annoying with their music. So that's when I told her to look somewhere else to stay if she's going to cause problems with my neighbors. Right now, she's couch surfing between friends, and my family is upset that I was willing to kick her out of my home over issues with my neighbors. My parents are far, so of course they can't take her in, and because I'm the only person close to her, they feel like I'm not being a very good brother for caring more about this than my sister having somewhere to stay. I feel like I'm in a way justified and not wanting her to create problems between our houses, but at the same time, yeah, she doesn't have a place to stay right now. So, am I the jerk? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his sister? Please let us know. She shouldn't have gone behind his back and lied like that. Don't go to an emergency room when it isn't an emergency. I'm an ultrasound technologist and used to work for a freestanding emergency room. I worked 40 hours during the day, Monday through Thursday, and was on call every night from the time I got off work until I went back in the morning. So basically, even if I've already worked 10 plus hours that day and get off at 8 p.m., if a patient comes in at 2 a.m. and needs an ultrasound, I had to get out of bed, get dressed, drive to work, do the exam, drive home, and hope to get some sleep before clocking back in a few hours later. Most of the time, I'm okay with this. You don't show up at the emergency room in the middle of the night unless you really need help. Mostly. Another important fact is in my state, it is illegal to discuss anything about the findings of the exam with the patient. I can't show them pictures, I can't tell them if I think they have gallstones, etc. I could lose my job and license to practice if I do. I take the pictures, send them to a radiologist, and he makes the report for the ER doctor and the patient. Also, remember, this is an emergency room. This is not a doctor's office or one of those places you can get a fun 3D ultrasound done when you're pregnant. This is not a happy, fun place. So one night I was called in around 1 a.m. after already having worked a 12-hour shift. The previous night I had been called out multiple times, so I was operating on about 4 hours of sleep for the past 2 days. So I get to work and the ordering doctor tells me the patient is pregnant and complaining of severe left-sided pain. So I need to do an OB ultrasound to make sure baby is okay and there isn't anything life-threatening going on. Okay, no problem. So I bring the patient into my room and ask her where she's hurting so she can point to the exact spot so I know where to focus and double-check everything. The patient points to her right side and just casually says, "Over here somewhere." Because I'm too sleep-deprived, I assumed maybe I was confused and forgot which side the doctor told me was concerning. Me: "I'm sorry, I thought the doctor said it was your left side that was bothering you." Patient: "Oh yeah, my left side, that's it." Me: "So, where does it hurt?" "Can I be honest?" "Of course, please tell me what's going on." "So, I'm not really hurting, but I don't have an ultrasound scheduled for this baby until Tuesday. And tonight I was looking online for nursery decorations and I found this gorgeous bed set on sale. But the sale ends at 7 a.m. and I don't know if I should order blue or pink because I don't know if I'm having a boy or a girl." Me: "So you have absolutely no medical concerns whatsoever?" Now the patient sees she's made a mistake and starts backtracking. "Oh, I mean, plus, my side hurts." Me: "Right, okay." So I just go ahead and start the exam. I take all of the important measurements, make sure the baby's heart looks good, etc. Patient: I can't see the screen." Me: "That's because I can't show you anything or discuss this exam at all. The radiologist will make a report for the ER and they'll let you know what the radiologist says." "Oh, so the ER doctor will tell me if I'm having a boy or a girl?" Me: "No, That's not medically relevant. This exam is to make sure the baby is safe and healthy. But I have to know what I'm having. I have to know before 7 a.m. Me. Sorry, that isn't part of the exam. I don't even look to see if it's a boy or a girl. Here in the emergency room, we are responsible for making sure there aren't any life-threatening issues happening. Whether she's having a boy or a girl is in no way relevant. Patient. But you can just take a peek, right? Me. No, I really can't. And even if I saw anything, it would not go in the report as it's not medically relevant. I don't need it in the report. You can just tell me. No, I can't. I'm not allowed to discuss anything about the results of this exam. I just take the pictures. But I came here because I need to know my baby's gender. Me. You said you came here because you were having severe pain. Well, yes, of course. But still, can't you just give me a hint? Remember, this is almost 2 a.m. I'm tired. I'm trying very hard to keep a smile on my face, and this woman had me miss precious hours of sleep because she didn't want to miss out on a sale for crib sheets. Me. Ma'am, I cannot tell you anything about your exam. I can't tell you if the baby's a boy or a girl. I can't tell you anything. Please, just tell me what color bed set I should order. I'm an ultrasound technologist, not an interior decorator. I can't tell you anything. Okay, how about this? If I were you and you were shopping for bedding, what color would you order? Me. Probably purple. It's my favorite color. No, I mean, if you were me and had to choose between blue and pink, what color would you choose? Me. So, you want me to tell you what color bed set I would order between blue and pink? Yes, just tell me, blue or pink? Okay, and we're strictly talking about just bedding, right? Patient, thinking we have come upon an unspoken agreement. Yes, just talking about bedding. Me. If I could only choose between pink and blue, I would for sure order blue. The patient immediately pulls out her phone while I'm still trying to do her ultrasound and orders the blue crib set. For your information, she was having a girl. She asked me what color bedding I would choose, and I hate pink, so I was completely honest. Donating to an animal shelter does not make my dog adoptable. So this happened to me a few months ago. Just posting now because quite frankly, I've finally dealt with the circumstances. My older dog had to be put down, which sucked, yeah, but I didn't feel right just throwing his stuff out. Things like his harness, leash travel kennel, etc. So I cleaned it all up and took it down to the local animal shelter. One of my younger dogs is in training to be an ESA for my wife. Had his work harness and clear signage that he was in training along with his name. He's also an alumni of this particular animal shelter, so I took him along while I was dropping my older dog's stuff off. Younger dog, being in ESA training, is very sociable and likes to say hi to everyone, especially the kids. He loves them and they love him. This particular kid, however, was probably too young to read the Ask to Pet badges on his harness, however. I doubt his mother was, though. Fred, my younger dog, will break the rules if it means he gets FaceTime with a kiddo. So I interrupt, make Fred sit, then release him to get loved on. While I was talking with one of the shelter workers about my older dog, Mother interrupts and asks for an adoption form. Okay, cool. That's what shelters are for. I did not immediately realize she was talking to me because of having my attention split between the shelter worker, my dog, and her kid. Shelter worker. Who did you pick? Entitled Mom. This one. Points at Fred. Think he's too old to change his name? The employee gives me a panicked look. Me. Ma'am, this is my dog. I only brought him along because we got him here about a year ago. Karen. Well, you brought him back. I want to adopt him. Worker. He's not surrendering his dog. He was bringing in some donations. Karen. Angry glare at both of us. You shouldn't have non-adoptable dogs in the shelter. Now this kid is crying because his mother assumed anything with 4 legs was fair game and told him they could take my dog home. She snaps. See what you did. I hope you're happy. Stomps out, darn near forgetting her own crying kid. Note, Fred is my first attempt at training an ESA, though I do have long experience with hunting and general obedience training, but I think I'm doing okay. This is the second time someone has gotten upset with me because I wouldn't let them adopt or buy Fred. Edit. Rather than reply to each individual comment, I'm just going to say, yes, I am well aware of the differences between a service animal and an emotional support animal. Fred is not trained, certified, or badged as a service animal when he's in his harness, nor do I attempt to pass him as one. I know the people that do a great disservice to those that actually need their service animals. He only goes to pet-friendly places with us. I've had long experience training and handling dogs with a number of jobs. Fred is simply to be a comfort and companion. His work harness simply is to put him in a good manners mode because he's still very young and a pretty high energy / high intelligence dog. Left to his own devices, well, there's a reason I occasionally call him a dingo. Speaking of dogs, do you have a dog? And if so, what kind? Please let us know.
Teacup poodles for the win.
Shut my mouth? Fine, I'll sit back and watch you struggle. The school I currently work at went through an overhaul of assessment marking and submission policies. Important fact, all assessment marking was done by hand because we were still stuck in the dinosaur age. So the head teacher holds a meeting stating that all marking is to be changed to an online system where we would have to type a separate comment for each criteria for all assessment tasks rather than write an overall comment. You can imagine the uproar from all of the older teachers. They were super comfortable with writing, but can you imagine the two-finger typing method they were used to? Not to mention finding the letters. I had already saw this change coming as all students went online due to lockdown, and it was me who implemented this change for my department. I had a light bulb moment when all that happened, so in my own time, I reworked every single assessment by reducing the amount of criteria by half of what we had, so we would have less lines to mark. More work for me, but less work for everyone else. But nah, being a team player is always good, right? I raised my hand in the meeting to tell them what had been done for us all, but me being the youngest teacher there, they told me to put my hand down, shut up, and sit in my spot while they moaned and groaned about the changes. Fine. So I sat there, waiting for my time to go home. Fast forward a week, when an assessment with 6 lines is released to be marked. It may not seem like much, but if I have 6 lines times around 50 words times 60 students, it all adds up. It took me about 5 days to completely finish all of the marking for my students in between all of the other teaching and social life activities I had. But not for the other teachers. All of them had to bring work home every night, and some were also coming in as early as 5 a.m. as they were falling behind so badly. Not to mention the teacher who accidentally forgot his wife's birthday as he sat at work marking, as she sat at the dinner table waiting for him, who never showed up until bedtime. The looks on their faces were priceless when I went home on time every day. Thank you, speech recognition. This lasted for about 3 weeks until all teachers finally finished their work. After all of the flames settled down, the head teacher calls me into her office and asks me how did I manage to complete my work so efficiently. So I pull out all of my assessment reworks and place it on her table. I told her, remember how you told me to put my hand down, shut up, and sit tight? I was trying to lighten our workload and help everyone out. Then I look up at her whiteboard in her office, and she had written up a plan which stated exactly what I had done for assessment reworking in my spare time to help. So I turned around and said, told you so. Then I walked out. Now I'm the leader of assessment design for my department at school, and everyone cannot thank me enough for giving back their free time every time an assessment comes around. I still haven't told anyone about speech recognition, but that's just my ace up my sleeve. Am I the jerk for telling my cousin to move out? I, 27 female, own my house. I also have a 9-month-old puppy and a 3-month-old puppy. The younger one is obviously not fully housebroken. My cousin, mom, and brother all live with me. I've been having a hard time with the fact I am the only one cleaning anything in the house, including the bathroom I don't use since I have my own in my room. Anyway, yesterday morning I woke up to a note from my cousin on the kitchen table saying the dogs are to be crated every time I leave the house and every time I go to sleep. My dogs free roam and I own the house. I'm not being told what to do with my dogs, and they also are in my room with me all night with the door closed. I also woke up to my dogs having busted open a bag of confectionery sugar all over the couch because my cousin forgot to close the pantry door. This was done when I was getting ready for work. This is a constant fight with him. I tell him to close the bathroom door constantly so the dogs don't get to the trash or toilet paper. Everyone else in the house can remember, but he can't. He was also mad the younger puppy had an accident in the house. When he woke up, I told him my dogs will not be crated, the younger puppy is 3 months old and not fully potty trained yet, and the accidents are becoming less frequent. I told him it was his fault he left the pantry door wide open, just like I have to clean up the mess in the bathroom every day when he doesn't close the door. I also told him not to be bringing any needles into my house, and my older puppy found one of them and I stopped her from chewing it, and thank God it was still capped and empty. I'm home all day with my dogs since I work from home, but it's a call center environment and I can't get up from my desk. I told him he's being careless and potentially causing my dogs harm. He didn't like that. We got into a big fight. I told him to leave. He said I was neglecting my dogs, which set me off because my dogs are my kids, and if he would just clean up after himself, it wouldn't be an issue. I told him before he complains about my dogs, he should learn to clean up after himself and stop leaving trash all over the kitchen for me to clean. He said he was moving out, so I said fine. You can leave now since you're being so careless with the measures I put in place so the dogs don't make a mess and get into stuff that can hurt them. He called the police. They said I have to evict him, but still asked him to leave. My mom said I could have handled it better, but I'm tired of being nice and asking politely when it obviously doesn't do anything. He was also mad I asked him to move his work equipment from my front patio for the millionth time because I said I don't want it there. It looks trashy. I'm just trying to keep my house inside and out clean and keep my dogs safe. Am I the jerk for telling him to just get out? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her cousin? Please let us know.
Why are you letting this cousin live with you in the first place?
Entitled Mom yells at me because I won't change the price of a toy. So this happened a while ago, but it still makes me fume every time I think about it. So I'm a supervisor at a supermarket. One day a cashier calls for me to come and help with something. I get over there and it's a mom and her kid. The mom claims the toy she has in her hands was only $9. Now, we're supposed to be strict about this kind of stuff because most of the time an item has just been moved to the wrong place. Just so we're clear, we can't honor a price every time something is in the wrong place. It's a huge store, and we would be run out of business doing that. Anyway, back to the story. I go with the customer to the toy section so she can show me where she found it. I see that the toy was clearly in the wrong spot, and all 3 other toys like this are an aisle away, and they're ringing up $20. I tell the customer this, and then a crap storm occurs. We've got me, we've got Entitled Mom, and we've got her kid. Entitled Mom.
Okay, but I found it here, and you guys say you honor the prices.
Me. Not if the item has been moved to another place. If all the other toys like this were in the spot, there might be an exception. But if you read the label here, it says something different than the toy you're talking about.
That's not my problem. I found it here. My son really wants it, and you are going to deny it to him? I used to work here. I know how things work, and you have to give it to me for that price.
Me. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but there is too much of a difference for me to change the price of an item that was in the wrong spot. Her kid. At this point, he's not even caring about the toy. He's playing with a phone and seems perfectly content. Entitled Mom.
Are you kidding me? You're going to do that to my kid? He's so upset over this. He's throwing a fit. You tell him that you're the reason why he can't have a toy he wants so bad. Tell him.
Her kid begins to get upset because she is baiting him. Me, trying to calm her down. Ma'am, Entitled Mom talking to her son.
I'm sorry you can't have it. This woman over here won't let you have it.
At this point, she's being so loud that my nearby coworkers have come over to see if everything is okay. I tell the customer I will get her a manager because I'm starting to get so angry that I'm shaking. The manager meets her up front where she continues to yell at him in front of all the cashiers and customers checking out. She's going on about how we are cheating her and that I handled the situation very poorly. Then she asks to speak to the store manager. When she is told that the store manager is unavailable, she calls our corporate number. Oh, and to make things worse, management let her have the toy. She was definitely one of the worst customers I've had to endure. Now, every time I see her, I shudder to think of having to help her again. By the way, it wasn't so bad after because all the cashiers were cracking up about the craziness of this lady, in turn making all the anger go away. And this mother met with the store manager but everyone else vouched for me about how crazy this lady was, so I didn't get in any trouble. Do you think they should have lowered the price or kept it full price? Please let us know.
That Karen needs to learn how to switch the price tags. Tell her to give me a call. I'll be glad to teach her.
Am I the jerk for preventing my daughter from getting a new phone? Forgive me if I'm heated in this post, but this situation makes me extremely angry. A few months ago, my daughter smashed her iPhone for a social media post. In the post, she said, "It's okay, my parents will buy me a new one." The thing is, I definitely would have bought her a new one that same day and would have never known if it wasn't for the fact that her brother tipped me off and showed me the post. Her father and I were obviously extremely angry. We both came from rough childhoods and worked hard to build a good life for our kids. So to see her take advantage of that was extremely upsetting in a way I can't even describe. Her father and I are divorced, but we sat down and agreed that 1. We are cutting off her allowance, and her purchases now have to come through us. 2. We will never buy her a new phone, but we might consider a flip phone when she goes to college. 3. We will monitor her social media to make sure she's not participating in damaging content. 4. If she gets a job and wants a new phone, she first has to pay us back for the phone she destroyed. 5. We won't buy her a car when she turns 16. As I said, a few months have passed and I still feel the same way, but her dad has softened and he thinks her attitude has changed. He says that we might be too harsh over a teenager's mistake, and we should at least give her an allowance for chores and change "we're never buying you a phone ever" to "going a year without a phone." Personally, I don't care if all kids have one. She has an iPad with social media and a MacBook. She can still message her friends, but I refuse to get her another phone. If she wants one, she can get a part-time job and work for it so she can see how much work goes into getting a phone. But I don't see value in giving more money to a kid who doesn't know the value of money. I'd rather my daughter be unhappy for a few years over a phone than raise another spoiled and out-of-touch jerk for the world. Her dad respects my opinion and agreed he won't give her a phone or allowance. But now my daughter is angry at me and calling me a narcissist and controlling. However, my actions are a direct result of her misbehavior, and I'm not preventing her from getting a phone. She is free to work and buy one at any point. However, I think I might be the jerk because my daughter will be punished for years over one mistake. Am I the jerk here? Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you buy your kid a new phone or let them get a job and buy one themselves? Please let us know.
Oh, give the kid a break. I did things like that all the time when I was a teenager, and look how I turned out.
Fiancé left me due to my health condition. I left her destitute. We dated for 4 years and had what I thought was a great relationship. We were both well-established professionals who both owned homes in the same neighborhood and both with daughters in the home. Her daughter was 11 and mine was 16 when we met. We had actually planned to get married, build a house, and raise the two together. We planned the house build because she had recently been diagnosed with a neurological disease that would eventually put her in a wheelchair and need something ADA friendly. During the planning stages, I began doing landscape and construction projects on her home to increase the resale value. All in, I invested roughly $30,000 into the home, running everything through my side construction business for tax, permitting, and resale purposes. We had a contract that payment would be made upon the sale of the home. I produced invoices for each and every project, but never pushed for payment because of the prior agreement. Fast forward 6 months, we're looking at property to develop and finalizing drawings on the home when I began feeling ill. I couldn't eat, constantly vomiting and passing blood. I began noticing that my abdomen looked swollen, which was odd because we were both very clean eaters and were in the gym every day. So I went to the doctor and began having tests done. During this time, she began having small cognitive issues, and the stress of her current position was exacerbating her condition. So she took a $20,000 per annum cut in pay along with a lesser position inside the company. After a month or so of different tests and a biopsy, it came back that I had a golf ball-sized tumor in my stomach and would need to begin chemotherapy. So I began chemo and radiation treatments, which made me, expectedly so, extremely ill. She was spending time helping around my place on the weekends and staying over more, to the point that they were both at my home more than theirs. At this point, I suggested that we go ahead and put one of our houses on the market and move in together until the new house was built. I have great supplemental insurance as well as a long-term illness plan, So using that coupled with the sale of one of our houses would push us through comfortably and help ease the financial stress on her. Shortly after this discussion, she became extremely distant. Her daughter wasn't coming down and hanging out with mine anymore. She had excuses for not getting together. She quit driving me to treatments and stopped staying over. She then dropped a bomb, a sentence that will forever be burned into my psyche. I love you, but I can't see myself taking care of someone this sick in the long term, and I don't think we should see each other any longer. In a text. It broke me, I won't lie. This was the first woman I had ever opened up to and planned a life with since my wife died when my kids were 1 and 3. However, I tried to be mature about it. I forced myself to understand her position and to accept what I could not change. I calmly, the next day, gathered all of her things, packed them neatly, loaded them into my truck, and took them to her house to leave on the back porch while she was at work, in order to avoid any awkward exchanges. Walking around the back and under the porch cover, I sat down in a box and saw her in the back living room, on the couch, hooking up with a guy that she had introduced me to as a lifelong friend. I had dinner and drinks with this man and his girlfriend. We had gone on vacation with them as well. I never spoke on the incident with her and simply sent her a text later explaining that I would leave her things on my side porch to pick up at her convenience. I discovered 8 or 9 months later from his now ex-girlfriend that they had broken up due to him confessing that he had been hooking up with my significant other dating back to about the time we were finishing drawings on the new home. Now I'm mad. Revenge time. At this point, I had finished chemo and radiation for the time being and was feeling healthier. I was going through some much neglected paperwork when I ran across the file that contained $32,000 in unpaid, long overdue invoices, which were promptly sent to my attorney to begin lien proceedings on the home. It turns out that I couldn't have done this a moment too soon because she was set to put her house on the market. Coupled with interest over the course of what was then 19 months overdue, the invoices were hefty. That, along with the agreement of settling them when the house was sold and attorney fees, left her with roughly $10,000 after the sale of the home and settling her current mortgage. She promptly had to back out of the purchase of another home and moved in with her oldest daughter, sister-in-law, and 2 grandkids. She also had to leave her home and begin receiving disability. I ran into her a little over a year ago, and she looked as if she had aged 20 years and was in the wheelchair we had talked about. We chatted cordially, but briefly, and I excused myself and went on with my day. A few days later, her younger daughter called me and spoke of my running into her mom and could we hang out sometime. I gave her a vague answer, thanked her for calling, and again went on with my day. The ex then called me a week or so later and began apologizing for leaving me as she did. Again, cordial but short. I thanked her for calling and hung up. She began texting, and this went on for several weeks until she asked if I could ever see us rekindling what we had, to which I replied, I can't see myself taking care of someone so sick in the long term. Remember the box on your back porch? Did you think that lifelong friend brought that over to you from my house? Good luck to you. Goodbye. I sometimes feel guilt over this, but not much and not often. Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend to get a job or get out? I, 27, have been with my boyfriend, who's also 27, for 8 years, and we've been living together for 6. For college graduation, my dad gifted me a house, paid off, as he is very well off. Since graduation, I've started my career and have become very successful and enjoy my work. My boyfriend has not. He did not complete college and has jumped between low-paying jobs for the last 6 to 7 years. This never bothered me. I make enough money to support us both. I pay our utilities and other fees with some help from him. Late last year, my boyfriend lost his job and was still looking for a new one when the lockdown hit. He now claims it is nearly impossible to get a job, which I understand, but have also had other friends in the same town manage to get jobs since the lockdown. All of this would be okay, except my dad lives in a city nearby and will often stop by, with warning. When he does, I do not mind him eating anything he wants out of the refrigerator or using my appliances. I figured he gave me a place to live payment-free, so it's only fair. I also do not care if my boyfriend eats whatever he wants either. Last week, my dad ate food that my boyfriend had purchased. This has happened in the past, but from my perspective, we live rent-free, so it shouldn't be a big deal. It is never special food, normally like regular chicken or something you can get at the market. My boyfriend is normally annoyed, but this time he went ballistic and took my dad's laptop charger out of his bag to get even. By the time my dad figured out his charger was missing, His computer was almost dead and he had an important virtual meeting. Thankfully, he had a spare, but I was livid. I told my boyfriend that he lives rent-free and that if he was going to act that insane about some food when he regularly eats what I buy and turn into a child, then I expected him to get a job and pay rent or else get out. He chose to get out, but accused me of being a jerk and throwing him out on the street. However, he has a brother and a sister that live nearby, as well as his mother who regularly asks him to come stay with her, which he normally doesn't. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Karen roommate keeps eating my food. I, 18 female, live with a couple, 19 female and 20 male. They're mostly pleasant to be around, but they can't really understand boundaries too well sometimes. Every week, I do a food shop and prepare and freeze down my meals for the week to eat when I get home and while I'm at work because I can't just buy food due to a range of allergies and aversions. My weekly food works out pretty expensive, so I do make a point every week that I genuinely cannot afford for anyone to eat my food. I had to go away for a few days that turned into a week last week, and I figured it'd be fine since my food was frozen down so I didn't have to worry about missing a week's pay, as it was there already for me. I was actually really excited to eat them when I got home because they looked really good. Anyways, I got home this afternoon and went to go heat up my tonight's dinner around 2 hours ago, only to find every bit of it was gone and the containers weren't even washed right. To say I was upset was an understatement. I'm hungry and annoyed and can't do another shop until Friday, and all I have is spinach and eggs until then. I called both of them into the kitchen and asked them what the heck was going on. She said they had friends over yesterday and that they were too lazy to cook or to order in food. I got really mad and I started shouting everything I listed above at them. They left the house and are staying at a friend's. My friend/neighbor, who had actually heard me shouting at them because our walls are thin, came over and said I'm being unreasonable and a jerk after hearing my side of the story because it's just food. Am I the jerk? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her roommates? Please let us know. There's only one way to deal with people like this, and it involves laxatives. Cheap customers expect 4-star service for a 1-star price. Case number 1. I will be me, and Mr. Executive from overseas will be executive. For the record, I work night audit. Phone rings at 3 a.m. Me. Hello, thank you for calling our hotel. This is OP. How can I help you? Executive. Hello, I just wanted to check on my reservation for today. I'll be coming in at around 11 a.m. Me. Okay, can you give me your confirmation number? He gives me his confirmation. I pull up the reservation. Top tier member. $139 a night for like 5 nights. Standard king, our cheapest and most basic room type. I confirm the details of his reservation with him. Executive. Okay, but they told me you would upgrade me to a suite. We have 2 suites in the hotel, and neither was available. Also, those start at about $500 per night. Me. Unfortunately, it looks like both of our suites are unavailable. I can upgrade you to one of our premier rooms for a little extra space, like 20 square feet, but it's our highest tier room that isn't a suite, if you'd like. Executive. What? I was told that I could upgrade to a suite if I called you this morning. Me. Unfortunately, as I said, we only have 2 suites and they are both unavailable. Executive. I don't understand. I need a room with a separate living room. I will be staying with you to conduct my business. I can't do that in a standard room. I need a suite. I was told I could upgrade. Me. I hear you, sir, but as I said, both of our suites are unavailable. If they were available, I would be happy to discuss upgrade options with you. But again, they are not available for your stay. Executive. But I was promised I could call you and get a suite. I don't understand. What can you do? Me. I can offer you a premier room if you'd like. Does it come with a separate living room or a parlor? Me. No, unfortunately, only our suites have a separate living room or a parlor. Why can't I have the suite? Me, wanting to bang my head against the desk because we're going in circles. I'm sorry, but this isn't available. Executive. What am I supposed to do? I need the suite for my business. Don't you understand? I understand perfectly, and I'm sorry, but it still isn't available. If you're traveling for business and need a suite, I recommend booking a suite instead of a standard room. That way you are guaranteed to have a suite that you booked. But as a top-tier sparkly member, I am guaranteed an upgrade, and I need one of your suites. Thank you for your brand loyalty, and you are guaranteed an upgrade if an upgrade is available. Unfortunately, the upgrade you want is not available at this time. This conversation continued to go around and around and around until I told him I would make a note that he was requesting a suite, but told him it was not guaranteed and was not currently available. He apparently made an ordeal of it with the GSA who worked the day shift as well as 2 managers. He never got a suite and left the next day to find other accommodations. Case number 2. Again, I will be me, and this time I'm dealing with drunk, jerky dude bros. I will refer to them as jerks. Only one of them actually spoke, but I'm lumping them together here. It's about 2:30 a.m. tonight. We currently have a policy where masks must be worn in all public areas at all times. Also, we do not allow drinking alcohol in the lobby, especially outside alcohol at any time. This is actually a law prohibited by the Liquor Control Commission, and we could be fined and held liable for it. Anyway, the jerk canoes come down off the elevator, a bit tipsy, no masks, beer in hand, and make themselves comfortable in my lobby. I wait for a moment to see if they're going to put their masks on, but they don't, so I decide to walk over and politely ask them to do so. Me. Hello, gentlemen. I'd just like to remind you that masks must be worn at all times when in the lobby, except when you are actively eating or drinking. I don't mention the alcohol at first because I pick my battles, and I'd rather they wear masks as it's a bit more of a direct public health and safety hazard. Also, I'm immunocompromised, and it's just me and them in the lobby. Jerks. Well, we are actively drinking. He motions to the beers and still does not put his mask on. Me. Well, about that. Unfortunately, outside alcohol is not allowed in our lobby. But honestly, I don't mind, as long as you put your masks on. Jerk. Do you have any water bottles? Now the water bottles cost $4 each, but I'm willing to comp a couple if it gets them to comply. I grab 2 bottles from the back and set them on a table about 6 feet away from them because they still aren't wearing masks. Me. Okay, I'm just going to set these here and keep my distance because I haven't had my shots yet. Jerk. Well, my sister got the shots, and you know what? She still caught it. Me. Okay. Well, it's not 100% effective, but jerk interrupts me because he's a jerk. Yeah, it's only 60% effective. He starts rambling off some BS facts. See, not facts. Aggressively at me as I turn and walk away, angry and flustered. I don't have time for BS, and I'm not going to take this treatment from some jerk. I'm not going to get sucked into a confrontation with him. I walk back to my desk, and he's still shouting at me from across the room, and still hasn't put his mask on. The phone is ringing, and I take the call. A quick, unrelated guest issue I can have maintenance resolve, then call security. I let security know of the interaction, and he goes over to talk to them and tells them that they need to wear masks or go back to their room. They comply, but I can see them leering at me, and one makes the innocent comment, "Oh, did someone complain?" My mind went to heck, but my composure held and I did not engage. They remained in the lobby for about 15 minutes, masks on and off at random until they left, and I had the pleasure of listening to the aggressive one of them whine about his girl problems because he's a jerk. So at least I got to enjoy a bit of schadenfreude at his expense. When they got up to leave, they did not bother making eye contact, and neither did I. But I'm seriously not paid enough to deal with petty crap like this. And this seems to be a common guest interaction I've had over the course of this lockdown, and I'm just so tired of it. Oh, and as a final dessert, security told me their room number, so I charged them for the water bottles. I never explicitly said I would comp them, and since they decided to be jerks for no reason, I chose not to. Enjoy your overpriced Dasanis, you filthy animals. Edit. I just approved a guest's upgrade to a suite coming in this week. He is willing to pay $1,100 a night on top of the $160 a night rate he booked a standard room for a week. That's like an additional $8,000 in revenue off of one guest for a suite. You bet your booty I approved it. Low mid-tier member offering $1,300 a night guest versus I want a free upgrade as a Sparkly member guest. Sorry, Sparkly member, mid-tier gets it.
If you enjoy these stories, come watch this one next. You won't believe what happens in that one.